Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story. The Trump administration's income tax cuts in the proposed spending bill having a big impact on how much the state can spend. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson is looking into the proposed budget and is live with more. Heather?
Maria, today the governor's office laid out how they plan to spend money this year. In the subcommittee presentation, they said they're prioritizing money for the governor's GRIT initiative, which looks at how to make government more efficient and transparent. Sofia De Caro, the executive director of the governor's office of planning and budget, says that investment led to a lot of cost savings in the past year.
We are excited to announce that we've now exceeded $10 million in cost optimization and another $10 million in cost avoidance.
Still, just like every other government agency this year, they had to recommend to the committee where they can cut 5% of the budget. They're suggesting that $368,000 comes from cutting staff, and they won't ask for any new employees this upcoming fiscal year. Reporting live, Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
We're about an hour away from the next court hearing in a deadly Halloween night shooting in West Valley City that left 2 teenagers dead. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is tracking the case ahead of that hearing. Eric?
Maria, this case centers on a shooting outside a Halloween party in West Valley City, where prosecutors say 3 men opened fire on an SUV, killing 2 17-year-olds inside. Investigators say 1 teen died at the scene and the other later from their injuries. Prosecutors have charged Jonas Mukhtar, Noor Aden, and Justin Trujillo with multiple counts of murder, claiming the shooting was intentional. Court records show Mukhtar is scheduled to appear in person today at 1 as the case continues to move through the courts. We'll be watching it as it happens and bring you updates after that hearing on Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Prosecutors have filed charges and revealed new details about a deadly shooting that happened by East High School. Solid County prosecutors are now accusing 23-year-old Shane Hageman of shooting Tyson Babb from his second-floor apartment last Wednesday near 750 South and 13th East. Charging documents say that Hageman shot Babb in the back while Babb was stealing his bike. Hageman is now being charged with first-degree murder. A Payson couple is being accused of exploiting a vulnerable adult after police say they used their grandmother's rent for gambling, fast food, vapes, and online gambling until the grandmother got evicted. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Court documents say Diane O'Bannon was named her grandmother's primary caregiver, and she moved into her home. But police say she and her husband Cameron were both sending grandmother's money to their cash apps. They say the money was also being used at gas stations, restaurants, for gambling charges, and more. And at the same time, this 87-year-old grandmother with dementia, she had her electricity cut off and was eventually evicted for not paying her bills. Police noted in the documents the grandmother does not drive, does not smoke, and is not doing any online gaming. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
Utah officials are sharing their plans to stop drunk drivers this year. Taylorsville Police will be teaming up with Utah Highway Patrol and the Utah Highway Safety Office and Mothers Against Drunk Driving to do DUI blitzes around Labor Day. That's when they're expecting an influx in drunk driving. A student is doing okay after being hit by a car. The Ogden Police Department says it was around 7 this morning when the student was crossing near 30th and Harrison Boulevard. They only had minor injuries. The driver was not arrested. KSL's top national stories. The European Union says it's not going to work on a trade deal with the U.S. because of President Trump's push to acquire Greenland. ABC's Patrick Reevell has more.
President Trump has threatened 10% tariffs on all EU goods beginning from the 1st of February and then rising them to 25% if Greenland is not owned by the U.S. By June. So clearly we're already seeing major ramifications from this crisis that has been triggered by President Trump's demands for Greenland. And we are, it seems for now, headed deeper into a potential trade war between the EU and the U.S.
President Trump is in Davos, Switzerland today for the World Economic Forum, where he told world leaders only the U.S. can secure Greenland from foreign actors.
I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. Tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
President Trump says, although he really wants Greenland, he will not use force to get it under U.S. control. First Look Traffic. Good afternoon, Tito.
Good afternoon. It's looking like a trouble-free commute as you travel I-15 this hour. No delays going both directions throughout the valley. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL. News Radio 1027.
Thank you for joining us for Midday, recapping our top story. The governor's budget is out, and there are some major budget cuts included. We'll continue to follow that for you throughout the afternoon. KSL News Time, 12:07. We are having an awfully dry January. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson has Salt Lake's winter snowfall totals.
You guessed it. The snowfall this year in the valley has been absolutely terrible. We're really, really low on the list. In fact, thus far through mid-January, we are sitting at our least snowiest year on record in Salt Lake City proper. Really, we've picked up 1/10 of an inch. That is all we've been able to muster. Any storm we do get has been rather mild, and it's been in the form of rain. The second least snowiest year to this one is actually 1933 and 1934. That winter picked up 14.3 inches.
Wow. Matt says we don't have any snow predicted for the Salt Lake Valley in the next 7 days. Today, we should see a high of 46 and, yes, some haze. Despite that, a well-known water feature might be making an appearance at Gunlock Reservoir this spring. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis has more.
Gunlock Falls could be coming back this March if current water levels are anything to judge by. The falls appear when the reservoir is over 105% capacity, and today water levels came in at 103%. However, nothing is guaranteed.
If we get a lot of snow runoff, we'll see that spill for quite some time. If things keep going the way they are, it may not spill at all.
Washington County Water Conservation District Operation Manager Dave Jessup says the falls are an unusual event, only occurring every 3 out of every 7 years, and sometimes in very short bursts. He says the reservoir is sitting high this time of year because of a few concentrated storms in the area, but if the Gunlock Falls happen, it would be around mid-March. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. What's going on, Tito?
Traffic is rolling right along on I-15 at the moment. No trouble spots as you travel both north and south between Ogden and Provo. And things also look to be moving very well. There are no delays on I-80, I-215, and the 21st South Freeway. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Yet again, another January day with temperatures in the 40s. I got partly cloudy skies and a little valley haze hanging out. Overnight, we'll drop off to 27. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, 46. We drop down on Friday to 42. Mostly cloudy skies, cleaner air. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And hazy sunshine, 42 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Midday with Maria Shilaos. Elizabeth Smart was on the Today Show this morning. We'll hear what she had to say about the new documentary focused on her kidnapping. That's coming up, streaming live at kslnewsradio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
When you're making resolutions for the new year, have you ever thought of making a resolution to get a new metabolism?
So that your body is burning fat more naturally? I used to have a terrible metabolism because I didn't know what to eat or when to eat it until I did Soda weight loss. I let go of 37 pounds, and now my metabolism works for me.
I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and it was so nice because once that metabolism changes, the things that affected you more regularly don't affect you anymore. And those are the things that I learned from my nutritionist as I was going along and even afterward. It's so helpful. They taught me how to be successful for life.
You can call and speak to a nutritionist at Soda Weight Loss today at 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A. That's 866-800-SODA.
Or you can go to sodaweightloss.com and see the hundreds of before and after pictures. And right now is the best time to do it because if you join now, your partner joins for free, so you get 2 transformations for the price of one.
It's 866-800-SODA.
Because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Rocky Mountain Gun Shows.
Don't miss the Rocky Mountain Gun Show, Saturday and Sunday, January 24th and 25th at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Stock up on wholesale ammo with no limit on quantity. Get 500 rounds of 9mm ammo for just $85. Shop our massive selection of firearms, mags, knives, and outdoor equipment. It's the Rocky Mountain Gun Show, so you know it'll be good.
Rocky Mountain Gun Shows.
If you're getting new gutters, make absolutely sure that you don't get screwed. I mean literally, don't get screwed. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And every single gutter company out there uses screws to hold their gutters together at the corners and downspouts. They use screws because they're fast and cheap and easy. But man, they're terrible for your gutters, aside from possibly cutting your hand. They also loosen and corrode over time because they're not made from the same metal as the gutters. At RGS Exteriors, we've been installing gutters for 70 years now, and we don't use screws. We only use permanent, strong, and unobtrusive rivets. They're made from the same material as the gutters, so they won't oxidize, and they won't corrode. They'll also never loosen. Your hand is safe too. Did I mention they look amazing? So don't get screwed. Call RGS and get riveted gutters. Our number is 801-280-3110, or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110, or rgsutah.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
On September 12th, 1995, 12-year-old McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas. It was a crime that shocked the community because the suspect was so unlikely, so unexpected.
Former high-ranking police official, he'd run for sheriff at one point.
Law enforcement personnel were pretty much split down the middle over whether or not he actually did this.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, still feels that justice was never truly served.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
KSL News Time, 12:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
one of 3 men charged with murder is set to appear in court today in connection with a Halloween night shooting outside a West Valley City party that killed 2 teenagers. I'm KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
Second, there's so much water in the Gunlock Reservoir, a famous and rare waterfall could make its return this spring. Third, traffic and weather together, Tito.
Still no issues to report. I-15 is in great shape so far this hour as you travel anywhere along the Wasatch Front. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
High clouds and haze today, then a cool down for the weekend. I'm Matt Johnson.
Partly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City, 42 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Supreme Court hearing arguments today in the case involving Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook and whether President Trump has the authority to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud. Cook denies those allegations and has not been charged. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who is president's also trying to oust over allegations, was also in the courtroom.
The administration argues the president should have full power to decide whether there's cause to fire a Fed governor. In the case of Lisa Cook, Solicitor General John Sauer says there is.
There's the appearance of having played fast and loose, or at least been grossly negligent in getting favorable interest rates for herself.
Cook's attorney says she made an inadvertent mistake on a mortgage application. The justices were skeptical of the administration's argument, with Trump appointee Brett Kavanaugh warning,
"What goes around comes around."
That is, the next president could come up with cause to fire Trump's appointees. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
In Davos, Switzerland, President Trump spoke at the World Economic Forum today, criticizing the Fed chair for being too slow, he says, to lower interest rates. The president also spoke for more than an hour, doubling down on acquiring Greenland from NATO ally Denmark, but says he doesn't plan to use military force.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us.
The president leaving tariffs on the table, and that's led the European Union today to announce it's pausing talks on finalizing a trade deal with the U.S. In Texas, a jury has begun deliberations in the trial of former Uvalde school officer Adrian Gonzalez. He's charged with child endangerment in the delayed police response during the 2022 mass shooting at Robb Elementary. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed in the shooting. On Wall Street, stocks recovering some ground after steep losses yesterday due to tensions over Greenland and economic concerns. You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. Elizabeth Smart was just 14 years old when she was kidnapped from her Salt Lake City home. She's opening up about those 9 months that she was held captive in a new documentary, Kidnapped Elizabeth Smart. She appeared on the Today Show to talk about it and why she thinks it's important to share her story in this way.
I do think having my family involved, having the law enforcement, local media involved, I think it gives a really complete picture of both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess since the trial, since I had to testify and really talk about what happened, because prior to that I didn't, I felt like I needed to have a purpose to sharing my story. And I remember how alone I felt when I first came home because nobody talked about kidnapping or abuse or rape. And so since the trial, I've just felt like that's something that I need to talk about so other victims don't feel alone either.
She says she's still figuring out how to talk to her own kids about it.
One of the best pieces of advice I think I was ever given as far as parenting goes was when your kids start asking questions, that's the right time to start talking about it. And honestly, that started way before I was prepared, way before I ever thought it would come up. But I think my oldest was like 3 years old when she started asking me questions, like where was I going, what was I doing, why was I doing it? And that was shocking. I was not ready. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm still ready. But I would say that opened the door to start having those conversations. And then just as they've grown, I've been able to let that conversation grow as well.
Smart also spoke about how she feels about all the public interest in her case.
I mean, initially it was so shocking because that was not me. Like, I was happy to blend in. I wasn't anybody. And so that was very overwhelming when I first got home. And then I would also say it was surprising just like how long and how many people still remembered my story.
Sure.
And now it's been, 20 plus years. And so it's not uncommon to have people come up and approach me. But I guess even sitting here 20 plus years later is surprising. I would never have imagined this for my life. I never would have thought that my life would go in this direction.
The documentary is now available on Netflix. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Supercharger savings at uccu.com. Anything happening, Tito?
Nope, not a bad start to the afternoon drive. No trouble spots to report as you make your commute in either direction on I-15. Things also moving easily on our other Valley freeways. I-80 and I-215 rolling right along with no delays. Are you tired of dealing with missing teeth? Are you ready to ditch the dentures? The experts at Stubbs Dental can change your life with dental implants. Get started at stubbsdental.com today. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast. You got some high clouds possible today, mixed in with some sunshine, 46 the high, a little valley haze. Keeping a little haze in the forecast on Thursday, partly cloudy, 46. Cleaner air expected on Friday, mostly cloudy, 42. Down to 37. A cold day expected Saturday, mostly sunny skies. Keeping it mostly sunny on Sunday, 40 degrees. We're going to climb out of that cold hole at 44 on Monday, partly cloudy. More climbing on Tuesday, 47 hazy and partly cloudy skies. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And right now it's partly cloudy, 41 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. And the 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Quick check of the markets. Markets in positive territory. Investors liking what the president had to say about Greenland and the fact that the U.S. will not take it by force. We're going to have more money news, a complete update coming up next.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
All right, Utah, this is your shot. KSL and Ivory Homes are teaming up to send you to the big game in Santa Clara on February 8th. If you've ever dreamed of stepping onto football's biggest stage, the time to play is now. To qualify, just stop by any Ivory model home between now and January 31st. Walk through and ask about Ivory's super low rates, as low as 4.99% for a 30-year fixed. So get off the sidelines, visit an Ivory model home today, and enter for your chance to see the most incredible halftime show and the ultimate football experience. Start now at ivoryhomes.com/super. That's ivoryhomes.com/super.
This sweepstakes is open until January 31st, 2026 for residents of Utah who are at least 18. No purchase necessary. See the official rules at ivoryhomes.com/super.
When your check engine light comes on, do you see a repair bill or do you see peace of mind? For 20 years, CarShield's been the name America trusts to help keep you on the road. While other companies stop covering you when your car gets older, CarShield offers protection plans up to 200,000 miles. With over $1 billion in claims paid, we don't just promise protection, we deliver it. Don't let a breakdown break your budget. Get the flexible month-to-month coverage you deserve. Go to carshield.com. That's carshield.com today.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-897-4400. That's 800-897-4400.
KSL News Time, 12:24. Prince Harry was in court in London today, taking the stand in a trial against the parent company of the Daily Mail. More from ABC's James Longman in London.
Harry is joined by 6 other claimants who include Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley. And this week, the court has heard the ways in which their privacy was allegedly breached between 1993 and 2018. Associated Papers say the claimants are clutching at straws and deny any wrongdoing.
Prince Harry and other celebrities say that the Mail used illegal tactics like phone tapping to get information. Watching Utah's money, even Amazon CEO Andy Jassy says tariffs are making things more expensive. It's a big change from his comments last year where he said he didn't see prices going up. Jassy says they will work to keep prices down to a minimum. OpenAI is working to incorporate its programming into everyday life. Reuters reports companies trying to convince global governments to build more data centers and encourage the use professionally. OpenAI for countries as an initiative hopes to also expand to new areas of the world. Natural gas prices are expected to spike as winter storms hit the U.S. We are not seeing that snow here in Utah, but CNBC reports it will get nasty across the southern Rockies, Plains, and South. Heating demand will drive natural gas prices up by 26%. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is now up by 331 points. It sits at 48,819. S&P, it's up by 35 points. That's about 0.5%. And the NASDAQ up by 72 points. Awards season is underway and the Razzie nominations are out. The Razzies honor the worst movie releases of the year. Leading the nominations with 6 is Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler. Tied with that is the remake of War of the Worlds, starring Ice Cube.
Our most precious resource on Earth is data.
Okay.
And data is food for the superior intelligence.
Other not-so-beloved movies nominated include Hurry Up Tomorrow, Tron Ares, Brideheart, and Love Hurts.
When Team USA is on, you can almost see the moment a kid starts believing they could be next. Now, while Xfinity can't guarantee that, they can guarantee something just as important, that your internet price won't change for 5 years. No contracts or commitments, so while your kid is ordering gear online, streaming highlight reels, or video chatting, your Xfinity internet price won't budge. And who knows, by the time the next Olympic Winter Games roll around, your kid could be getting fitted for their very own Team USA uniform, and guess what? You'll still be paying the same price for reliable Wi-Fi. And there's even more to enjoy with the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get their best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed. Just $50 a month, plus get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 monthly value. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU. Love where you bank. Here's Tito Nani.
Still looking like a nice and quiet drive at this hour on I-15, going both north and south along the Wasatch Front. However, we do have a new accident. It's on southbound State Street at 8th East in Lehigh. It looks like currently that the 2 right lanes are blocked off. Join 3-time Tony Award winner Patti LuPone January 26th at Abravanel Hall as she celebrates the 25th anniversary of her acclaimed concert, Matters of the Heart. Tickets on sale now at utahsymphony.org. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hey, I've got partly cloudy skies today with a high of 46. We'll also see a little bit of valley haze. Overnight, 27, partly cloudy. We keep the high clouds in play on Thursday, 46. You move into Friday, a little bit cooler, 42, mostly cloudy, less haze. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Nice sunshine, 43 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time 1230. KSL's top story this half hour, and it is Eye on the Hill. Utah's public school leaders met with state lawmakers today to discuss their budget for the first time since the legislature asked them to cut hundreds of millions of dollars of expenses. KSL News Radio's Adam Small begins our team coverage.
The legislature sent the Utah State Board of Education a letter earlier this month and gave them just 1 week to find $300 million they could cut out of their budget. Today, some members of the state school board met with lawmakers, though the cuts weren't the main topic of discussion. State Senator Lincoln Fillmore, though, brought up why the board is being asked to do this in the first place.
The federal government action, it took away about $300 million in ongoing revenue. And then you take out what is statutory obligated to be able to pay, and there's really $0 left.
Senator Fillmore also discussed a bill he's pushing that seeks to open up some money from a state account meant to help schools during economic downturns. The state school board is expected to discuss the proposed cuts more in their next meeting tomorrow morning. The ones they originally put on the table would affect things like suicide prevention programs, Utah Fits All, and elementary arts and music programs. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
The vice chair of the state school board thinks that there's been a bit of a misunderstanding about the budget cuts.
Amanda Bollinger says when they took a deeper look at what lawmakers were asking, they realized they were asking the board to reevaluate the programs they're offering.
It's almost like when you re-look at your home budget and you're like, oh, I have 7 subscriptions to TVs. Maybe I need to cut some of these. Maybe I need to consolidate. And I think that that's really what they're asking us to do.
Bollinger says they've looked at their priorities and now they're deciding if the money they're spending is really helping get where they want to be in serving students across the state. Reporting from the state capitol, Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Utah's Chief Justice says he knows tensions are rising between government branches, but that's not important. In his State of the Judiciary, Matthew Durant told Congress, or told lawmakers, each person brings different voices and they are all united in their service.
I see in this room diligent public servants who care deeply about their responsibilities. Serious men and women who are focused on good governance.
Durant added that a lack of trust in state institutions can threaten freedom, and we can't have that here in Utah. One state lawmaker wants to tackle housing affordability by making it easier to build starter homes in the state. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott has that story.
State Representative Raymond Ward says the bill would give city councils 30 days to say yes or no to a housing project, and if they don't respond in that time frame, it will be considered an automatic yes. Ward says the way systems function now often hampers small projects and can either make them bigger and more expensive or scrap them altogether. Ward says if smaller projects like these are allowed, it will make home prices cheaper and bring homeownership within the reach of prospective buyers.
Ward also hopes that these homes will have to be owner-occupied for the first few years that they are built to ensure that they aren't used as vacation homes or sold to large companies to rent. KSL's top national stories. House Oversight Committee is holding a hearing on whether Bill and Hillary Clinton should be held in contempt for not adhering to a subpoena. Committee is investigating the Jeffrey Epstein case. More now from ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Republicans on the committee say that they're going to hold the Clintons accountable, and they've repeated the phrase that they are not, quote unquote, above the law. But the Clintons have hit back, saying that they're being treated differently than other witnesses who were subpoenaed before this committee, that they offered to deliver sworn statements to the committee the way other subpoenaed witnesses had, like former attorneys general and former directors of the FBI who had knowledge about investigations into Jeffrey Epstein.
Multiple photos from the Epstein investigation show former President Bill Clinton traveling and visiting the financier. Other national stories KSL is following. The Supreme Court is looking at a case involving President Trump and the Federal Reserve Board governor. He tried to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud that have never been tested in court. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports.
The administration argues the president should have full power to decide whether there's cause to fire a Fed governor.
In the case of Lisa Cook, Solicitor General John Sauer says there is.
There's the appearance of having played fast and loose, or at least been grossly negligent in getting favorable interest rates for herself.
Cook's attorney says she made an inadvertent mistake on a mortgage application. The justices were skeptical of the administration's argument, with Trump appointee Brett Kavanaugh warning,
"What goes around comes around."
That is, the next president could come up with cause to fire Trump's appointees. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
And time for First Look Traffic. Tito?
Still no issues to report on our major valley freeways. I-15, 215, and I-80 all in good shape at this hour. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:35. If you're thinking that you really want to get in shape, really take off those extra pounds, you know what? You just have a few months until spring is here, and you want to look better in all of your summer clothes. I want to tell you about a program that has worked just so great for me, and it is Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Now, this plan helped me lose more than 40 pounds, but many of their clients lose up to a pound per day. It's all natural. It strategically uses a combination of foods to help you drop the weight fast. And if you're like me, that helps keep you motivated so you stick with the plan. Since it's all natural, there are no side effects, and it's less expensive than other plans because you aren't required to buy things like breakfast bars or pay for a nutritionist. My husband wasn't on the plan, but because he was eating the foods that I was eating, he actually lost more weight than me. So, you don't both have to sign up as well. They also have a great app. It helps keep you accountable. It allows you to reach out and ask questions or concerns at any time and gives you great resources as well. Right now is the time to take advantage of this because their New Year's savings is about to end. Right now, you can save 20% off. You want to lock in those savings at slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Everybody loves the season of giving, but now the season of paying for it is upon us. That not-so-wonderful time of the year when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, stare in horror at the balance, and resolve then and there to find new ways to save money. If you're among those Americans, why not start by cutting your wireless bill in half right now with Pure Talk's Saver Plan? It's easy. You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast, nationwide 5G network for just $20 a month. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Ho, ho, ho! And if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe for the gift that keeps on saving from America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
Thank you for joining us for Midday, recapping our top story. Utah lawmakers are talking with the state school board members, hoping to go over hundreds of millions of dollars in budget cuts from the public schools budget. KSL News Time, 12:37. The historic Cottonwood paper mill is facing demolition, and community members are fighting to save it. KSL News Radio's McKenna Rodriguez has more.
The mill's landowner requested a permit to tear down the building, saying its lack of foundational structure leaves it vulnerable for collapse and poses a threat to public safety. But Lindsay Murphy, who grew up fascinated by the building's architecture and story, says this decision would erase the history and identity of the neighborhood.
There's a lot of people that love that building. It means a lot to a lot of people, and it kind of has shaped not only Cottonwood Heights, but Utah.
The decision is not yet final. The Cottonwood Heights Planning Commission will take public comment on Wednesday, and Murphy says she will be attending. McKenna Rodriguez, KSL News Radio.
A homeless shelter in St. George cut the ribbon on expansion, and it could be at capacity by the end of the month. The Switch Point facility now has 16 family rooms and a new community kitchen, which serves as a community center. Zachary Almager, says construction has families in mind.
We really wanted this to be a place that if families had been sleeping outside, they'd recently been staying in their car maybe for possibly weeks, a place that they could step into and immediately feel safe, feel warm, feel taken care of.
Almaguer says that Switch Point provides locked rooms with bathrooms and closets. He says they need a lot of volunteers and donations to keep the lights on. An existing shelter is limited to helping domestic violence victims. A Draper boy's wish to see penguins in New Zealand was granted by Make-A-Wish Utah. KSL News Radio's Reagan Edelman has more.
12-year-old Andrew Jeffs has loved penguins for most of his life.
Our parents would give us tickets to the aquarium, and so after school was over, like, for the day, we would go there, and then I just saw the penguins, and then I just started really liking the penguins.
When given the opportunity to make a wish, he asked to see a rare yellow-eyed variety in New Zealand. Andrew was diagnosed with vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome at the age of 2, something that impacts his blood vessel strength and internal organs and doesn't have a cure. His mom, Sarah Jeff, says it puts him at a higher risk of injury and has varying outcomes and challenges. You can learn more about Andrew's adventure on KSL.com. Reagan Edelman, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at UCCU.com. What's going on, Tito?
Few cars and high speeds on our freeways throughout the Wasatch Front. No slowdowns to report anywhere at the moment on I-15. Our other major roads look to be in great shape as well. No issues on Bangerter Highway or the 21st South Freeway. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Calling for high clouds today with some haze. 46 the high, partly cloudy the sky cover. We'll go to 27 overnight, still some haze. Partly cloudy on Thursday, 46 again. Cooler air drifts in here on Friday, 42. Cleaner air with mostly cloudy skies up above. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Hazy sunshine, a few wispy clouds, 43 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Midday, the college football schedule is out. We'll hear from BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
The murder of 2 men forces their families to wrestle with impossible questions.
Who is forgiveness for? Does everyone deserve a second chance? Follow Season 2 of The Letter, Ripple Effect, at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
KSL News Time 1245. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
Utah lawmakers met with state school board members today, just days after the legislature asked the board to cut hundreds of millions of dollars from our public schools budgets. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, one of three men charged with murder is set to appear in court today in connection with the Halloween night shooting outside a West Valley City party that killed two teenagers. Third, traffic and weather together, Tito.
So far, so good this afternoon. No accidents or slowdowns to report on any of our major valley freeways. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
More haze with highs in the 40s today, then a cool down over the weekend. I'm Matt Johnson.
Few clouds, 43 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national story.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Supreme Court heard arguments today in a case involving Federal Reserve member Lisa Cook and whether President Trump can fire her over allegations of wrongdoing. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more.
The president claimed without proof that she had committed mortgage fraud, and we heard the justices skeptical of that, wondering if she's had due process here. At one point, Justice Brett Kavanaugh questioned whether she'd gone through the due process, and Justice Samuel Alito said, are there even mortgage applications in the record here as they're going through this?
President Trump in Davos speaking at the World Economic Summit today, doubling down on his push to acquire Greenland. He says the U.S. can best protect the Danish territory, even though Greenland is part of NATO. The president says he will not use military force. Protests continuing in Minnesota over immigration operations. Today, a federal appeals court issuing a temporary stay on a federal judge's decision that had barred ICE agents from arresting protesters or using non-lethal weapons against them. The case was filed by the ACLU in Minnesota. This is ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. The Big 12 released this fall's football schedules, and KSL Sports BYU insider Mitch Harper is joining me live. So give us your thoughts, Mitch, on this new schedule.
Well, the big takeaway is that BYU has 7 home games in Provo for the first time since 2020, and one of those games is against Notre Dame. They will be coming to Provo on October 17th, and that's noteworthy because Notre Dame and BYU were the two highest-ranked non-playoff teams in the 2025 season. So that could be maybe the biggest game in the Big 12 next year.
So give us some of the highlights for you. I mean, what are some of the great matchups?
BYU and Utah, obviously, and that one will once again in year 3 in the Big 12 between these two heated rivals will not be played on the final week of the regular season. That will be played Saturday, November 7th at Rice-Eccles Stadium. So that game goes to another early November spot as it did 2 years ago. And also of note, when it comes to BYU, the Cougars are currently scheduled to play on General Conference Saturday for the first time, by my count, in 23 years. They'll play Saturday, October 3rd at TCU. Now, some of these game dates could change to a Friday night spot, so we'll see on that. But the Cougars currently scheduled to play on General Conference weekend at TCU in Fort Worth.
So every year the games are different. The teams that they play are different. Any notable exceptions this year, teams that they're not going to play?
That would be Texas Tech, the team that BYU lost to in Lubbock and in the Big 12 championship game. So they don't draw the Red Raiders. These opponents have been known since this 16-team Big 12 was created back in 2024 when teams like Utah and Arizona State joined the league. So they've known their opponents, between 2024 and 2027 seasons. So it's been known for a while. So it's just unfortunate that a great matchup that had a lot of intensity last year doesn't carry over to this upcoming season with BYU and Texas Tech. But on the flip side, BYU does get Arizona State back on the schedule. That was a big game 2 years ago. Arizona State went on to win the Big 12. They come to Provo on Halloween on October 31st.
It'll be an interesting year because these teams have all seen some, not all, but most of these teams have seen some major changes since this year, right?
Definitely. With the transfer portal and with NIL and coaching changes, so much changed year to year. But one of the teams, if really, BYU is kind of the exception to all of that, where they bring back Kalani Sitake. They do lose their defensive coordinator in Jay Hill. He followed Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. But key players like running back L.J. Martin, who was the offensive player of the year in the Big 12, he's back. Their star quarterback in Bear Bachmeier, he's returning. and then some key defensive players as well. So for a BYU team that was 12-2 this past year, they bring a lot back, and they feel like they could maybe be better this season with another challenging schedule yet ahead coming up this fall.
All right, Mitch, thanks so much for being with me.
No problem, Maria.
Live on the KSL Newsline, that is KSL Sports BYU insider Mitch Harper. Let's get a look at your drive, traffic, and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings and earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Tito?
It appears we have a crash on an I-15 North at the northbound I-15 collector at the I-215 South interchange in Midvale. It appears the center lane and right shoulder are blocked. Also a new accident on the Mountain View corridor. It looks to be at the intersection of 3500 South and 6 West as you make your way northbound. The left lane is blocked and congestion looks to be lingering back towards 4100 South. Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. Don't wait for bad weather to schedule professional snow service with GoPave Utah. Your complete parking lot safety starts with GoPaveUtah.com. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast. You got a 46 today. Partly cloudy skies. Don't worry, they're high clouds and a little hazy. Keeping the moderate air quality in play on Thursday. Partly cloudy 46. Cooler air drifts in from the north. That's Friday. Mostly cloudy 42. Cleaner air as we head into Saturday. Mostly sunny and 37 for a high. Back up to 40 on Sunday we go. Monday 44. And Tuesday still dry skies. Partly cloudy. 47 with a little valley haze. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Pretty warm for January. Sunshine, 43 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. And the 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Quick check at the markets. A big jump for all of the indices in the past half hour. For example, the Dow's now up by nearly 800 points. A complete update of your money news is coming up next.
When you're making resolutions for the new year, have you ever thought of making a resolution to get a new metabolism?
So that your body is burning fat more naturally? I used to have a terrible metabolism because I didn't know what to eat or when to eat it until I did Soda weight loss. I let go of 37 pounds, and now my metabolism works for me.
I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and it was so nice because once that metabolism changes, the things that affected you more regularly don't affect you anymore. And those are the things that I learned from my nutritionist as I was going along and even afterward. It's so helpful. They taught me how to be successful for life.
You can call and speak to a nutritionist at Soda Weight Loss today at 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A. That's 866-800-SODA.
Or you can go to sodaweightloss.com and see the hundreds of before and after pictures. And right now is the best time to do it because if you join now, your partner joins for free, so you get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
It's 866-800-SODA.
Because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
All in together now, we can make it better, can we do it?
We're open up.
Cause we know how to jump. Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
KSL News Time 12:54. A TikTok creator is getting a big break, making big money for a jingle for Dr. Pepper.
Subway, Popeyes, and Wingstop were among the many big brands who reached out as the original video racked up 40 million views. The real Dr. Pepper also responding, writing, "Hold on, you might be onto something."
Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice.
Well, that something turned out to be a TV commercial on one of sports' biggest nights.
And that is ABC's Hannah Butter reporting. Watching Utah's money. Cars are more expensive than ever. CNN reports that in 2025, there are no new cars priced under $20,000. These days, the average buyer spends about $50,000 on a car. Wells Fargo is moving its wealth management headquarters to West Palm Beach, Florida. Fox Business reports it's because Florida is more of a low-tax and business-friendly state. It's the first major bank to have a headquarters out of the state. J.P. Morgan could be the big winner in the Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount deal. Reuters reports the company could earn $180 million in financing and other fees tied to the bridge loan. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow up by 730 points. That's 1.5%, sitting at 49,222. S&P up by 104. The NASDAQ up by 395 points. Love letters spanning 5 centuries are on display at Britain's National Archives. The documents include legendary romances from British history, including royalty, politicians, celebrities, and spies. There are also stories of everyday people. Highlights include a letter from Robert Dudley to Queen Elizabeth, where he pleads with the father of a London gangster, twins from a father of a London gangster, twins Reggie and Ronnie Cray.
When you crash your car, you get it fixed. When your computer crashes, you get a new one. But what will you do if you've been saving in a 401k or an IRA and the market crashes? If you're in your 30s or 40s, you'll be just fine. But if you're in or near retirement, you could be in trouble. Mike Stevens and his team at Capital Wealth Advisors are here to help. They can run a risk analysis to see if you're too heavily invested in the market. Don't let the ups and downs of Wall Street control you or your retirement dreams. Call 801-210-5500 today to schedule your risk analysis with Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth Advisors. That's 801-210-5500. Crashes happen. Question is, are you ready? Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the Shingo Institute at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. When the critical mass of an organization is about defending the status quo, doing things the way they've always been done, then you see a certain pattern. I've seen this pattern at universities, government agencies, and businesses. First, the stories people tell about their work justify stagnation. Second, they punish and attack individuals who want to change. Often the top 10% of performers are treated like the bottom 10%. They're criticized and isolated by the protective culture so that they are asked or forced to leave. What is left is the middle, the average, the unchanged. What is left is mediocrity. Learn how to change a culture of mediocrity with an MBA from Utah State or a certificate from the Shingo Institute. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Here's Tito Nani.
We have a crash on the northbound I-15 collector at the I-215 South interchange, just past 7200 South in Midvale. It appears the center lane is blocked as well as the right shoulder. Also, another accident on the Mountain View corridor at the intersection of 3500 South and 6th West as you make your way northbound. The left lane is blocked and congestion is lingering back towards 4100 South. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
And taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, not much is going to change over the next 7 days. The temperature is staying mainly in the 40s with the mid-40s for the next couple of days. And just a 10% chance of showers right now on Friday. 45 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Day 2 of the legislative session is underway right now, and already on the agenda, public education funding. Lawmakers hoping to find places to make up a $300 million shortfall caused by the federal government's One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, they are looking in several places, including education.
As we've gone through the process and as we're better understanding what they're actually asking us to do, it's really more of a process of how are we using our dollars effectively? Are the programs that we're paying for still giving us the bang for our buck that we're hoping for?
The time is 1 o'clock on Wednesday, January 21st. It's midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Coming up, Eye on the Hill will go in-depth on the request from legislators and how the state school board is reacting following today's hearing. Also this hour,
multiple justices questioned whether firing by a president without due process undermines the central bank's long-standing independence.
The Supreme Court appears skeptical at President Trump's push to remove a Federal Reserve governor. We'll get legal analysis on today's hearing and what it could mean for the future of the central bank's independence. But first, our top stories. Utah lawmakers and state school board members met face-to-face today just days after the legislature asked the board to cut hundreds of millions of dollars from public school budgets. KSL News Radio's Adam Small begins our team coverage.
The legislature asked the Utah State Board of Education not even 2 weeks ago to find about $300 million they could cut from their budget. A committee of state lawmakers met with board leaders today, and while the cuts didn't take center stage, lawmakers did reiterate their request is being driven by massive federal tax cuts. State Senator Lincoln Fillmore also brought up his own proposal regarding a state account that could help alleviate some of the burdens schools are facing.
We created this fund to really stabilize public education so that there would be a pot of money that we could use in case of an economic downturn and we didn't have the money to fund enrollment and inflationary growth in public ed.
Senator Fillmore's bill, if passed, would allow schools to tap into some of that money because of the federal tax cuts. The state school board is expected to further discuss their proposed cuts more in their next meeting tomorrow morning. So far, they've been mulling over cuts to things like suicide prevention programs, Utah Fits All, and elementary arts and music programs. But even then, they're still not even close to the legislature's 9-figure target. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
We will go more in depth on this story in about 5 minutes. Our top national story from ABC News. House Oversight Committee is holding a hearing on whether Bill and Hillary Clinton should be held in contempt of Congress for not adhering to a subpoena related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation.
Republicans on the committee say that they're going to hold the Clintons accountable, and they've repeated the phrase that they are not, quote unquote, above the law. But the Clintons have hit back, saying that they're being treated differently than other witnesses who were subpoenaed before this committee, that they offered to deliver sworn statements to the committee the way other subpoenaed witnesses had, like former attorneys general and former directors of the FBI who had knowledge about investigations into Jeffrey Epstein.
ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting the Republican-led investigation has been criticized as being too partisan. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all up by more than 1.5%. The Dow up 759 points, sitting at 49,248. S&P up by 105 points, and the NASDAQ up by 388. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU Supercharger Savings at uccu.com. Here's Tito Nani.
We do have an accident on the northbound I-15 collector at the I-215 South interchange, just past 7200 South Midvale. It appears the center lane is blocked, as well as the right shoulder. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, if you like what you're seeing outside right now, you're going to love the next 7 days because the forecast has us staying put for the next 7 days with just a very slight chance of showers now on Friday, about a 10% chance. 45 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you buy your own health insurance for yourself or your business, you know it can be confusing even in normal times. This year is even tougher. You need to speak with an expert. At My Policy Quote, that's what you'll get. Would you get a surgery without a surgeon? I'm Mike at My Policy Quote. I've been in insurance for 12 years. Most people think when you sign up for an ACA government plan on the marketplace, you're stuck with it for the entire year. Not true. You can stop and enroll with me anytime, all year long. Most of my clients see 47% lower premiums and even more with gold level plans. My Policy Quote has access to true private insurance based solely on your health and the coverage you select, not based on your income. My client Julie started a health plan this January 1st for $1,468 with a $10,600 deductible on an HMO. I got her into a $2,500 deductible, national PPO for $737 a month. If you pay your own health insurance, you're on COBRA, even self-employeds or small businesses, call me, Mike, today. 385-367-6779. Again, that's 385-367-6779. Or visit mypolicyquote.com. That's mypolicyquote.com to get started now.
Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Thank you for tuning into Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. We do have some breaking news. We have just learned that President Trump has decided to drop his threat of tariffs over Greenland after those talks, NATO talks that he's having right now in Davos. Again, the markets are going crazy as a result of that news, with the Dow up by more than 700 points right now. Eye on the Hill, Utah lawmakers meeting with public school leaders on day 2 of the legislative session to discuss budgets. The hearing coming just days after the state legislature asked the state school board to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in expenses. About a week ago, legislative leaders asked the board to find $300 million to cut from their budget. Now, KSL was there when school board members discussed the cuts, choking back tears at the thought of making such drastic cuts.
You look at these kids in the faces. I'm sorry. I want the legislators to walk through the halls of these schools and you tell those kids what programs you're going to cut. Not happening. You find somewhere else to cut things. You look under every single rock in Utah and you make cuts, not in education, not for our kids. And I'm so thankful for the people that are in this room right now. We're all passionate. And this deserves time, not 2 hours. And if legislation is not going to come to the table, we should make their names public.
In the hearing on Capitol Hill today, members of the state school board discussed some of the proposed cuts with lawmakers, and State Senator Fillmore explained why the board was being asked to make these cuts in the first place.
This year, we're not experiencing an economic downturn, and yet we still are experiencing a massive reduction in state revenue due to federal action. So under the spirit of that original agreement, I think that by adding these 4 lines to the code around the stabilization fund, really keep the spirit of that agreement, but help us to be able to use this money in a more effective way in public education. So as you'll see there, we're just adding one more criteria by which stabilization money could be used. And as I say this, I point out, I think everybody on the dais here has heard the presentation from our legislative fiscal analyst that when you look at here's how much revenue the state additionally collected this year, and it was a really big number, but then you subtract out what the federal government action, it took away about $300 million in ongoing revenue, and then you take out what is statutory obligated to be able to pay, and there's really $0 left.
In response to this cut, Senator Fillmore spoke about a bill that he's running that could open up some money from a state account.
My proposal, again, I'll just read from line 133. If the minimum school program, for the year in which that minimum school program, if federal tax policy causes income tax revenue to decrease by an amount that is at least as much as the inflationary and enrollment increase, that we could use the stabilization fund to fund that increase in that year. So there's about $480 million in the stabilization fund. It's ongoing money, but that we've just put in a one-time box. So by adopting this, it would take 180 or 190 million of that money, that's ongoing money, and treat it like ongoing money and allow us to fund the 4.2% inflationary and enrollment-based adjustment in the WPU this year, and then leave us $300 million still in the stabilization fund, which is more than enough to cover everything that we've already done, including the teacher development days, the catalyst centers, the additional money for school supplies that teachers buy, and the additional money for rural PE facilities. All of that could be funded in there.
In the hearing, Senator John Johnson also voiced a different proposal.
I actually would like to see us at some point do a similar thing we did in higher ed, where we actually push that down even further to the local districts and say, look, we're running out of ongoing funds. Are there things that we could cut and then reallocate to new goals? Because I know we always have new goals of what we want to do. And, I would like to see us at least consider that at some point.
Ultimately, the committee didn't make a decision on the cuts. They are expected to discuss it in another hearing later this session. In just 60 seconds, we'll get some reaction to today's discussion from a member of the state school board. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We are continuing our Eye on the Hill coverage on Midday with a discussion on a hearing to cut public education funding in the state. Amanda Bollinger is the vice chair of the state school board, and she was asked by KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff to explain the proposed cuts and her feelings about what the legislature is asking the state school board to do.
I actually think there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding as we've gone through the process. It feels like we're making all these cuts. That's what we've seen, a 5% cut across the board. As we've gone through the process and as we're better understanding what they're actually asking us to do, it's really more of a process of how are we using our dollars effectively? Are the programs that we're paying for still giving us the bang for our buck that we're hoping for? So it's almost like when you re-look at your home budget and you're like, oh, I have 7 subscriptions to TVs. Maybe I need to cut some of these. Maybe I need to consolidate. And I think that that's really what they're asking us to do, is really take a step back, look at all of our programs, how they're serving our students. We've identified now our priorities as a school board, and are these funds really helping us get to where we want to be in public education and serving our students best. So although it feels like cuts, it's really more of a view, from my understanding, of reallocating and making sure that the dollars that we are using are helping us get to our goals.
Bollinger says last week's board meeting gave them an opportunity to find a few areas where funds could be cut or reallocated.
At our board meeting last week, we did make a few recommendations. We'll be meeting again tomorrow as a school board from 9 a.m. till about 1:30 to revisit the programs and have these discussions further. And really, our priority is to make sure our students in the classrooms are being served. And there are oftentimes programs that our legislators recommend that get put into our budgets, and over time we have to go back then and look at those programs and say, are these still programs that are serving our students? Are these nice to have, needs to have, or are these just pure add-ons that then maybe can be funded at a local level or local choice versus public dollars for the whole state? So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at.
Outside a hearing on Capitol Hill for the Public Education Appropriations Subcommittee, Bollinger says one of the hardest things for the board to deal with is the allocation of funds to school districts with very different demographics and needs.
That's why we really support local control. And when we talk about local control, we're talking about at an LEA level, not necessarily a state level. We always feel like parents and communities and local LEA leaders have a grasp on what their local needs are. And that's where, when we're looking at our dollars, how do we balance that? And how do we make sure that districts have and charter schools have the money they need to best serve their students? So it is a tricky balance. What works for one doesn't work for all. And I think that's one of the things we'll be looking at with our programs. Because sometimes there are programs that in a large district, you get a large chunk of money and it can help benefit all of your students, where maybe at a charter, it's a smaller amount of money and it can't necessarily impact students as much. So is it better to then take that money that's been earmarked for that program, put it into a more unrestricted budget or a bucket of money, so then local decisions can be made on what is best to use for the students. We all know that we don't like having restricted money, and I think that that's what I've heard most from the LEAs in my area, is they would rather have flexible money and flexible spending to then best meet their needs. To your exact point of what works for one small district or a rural district is different than a larger district or in a large city.
She says that as they look at the budget and how to move things around, she wants people to know and understand that it's not a us versus them kind of situation in education, but that these challenges are opportunities for communication and collaboration.
So I've been in education for 25 years, and when I was a teacher, I always thought I was the principal making some decisions that were hard. When I became a principal, I thought, oh my gosh, the district is making hard decisions, and why are they doing this to us? Then I worked for the district. And when I looked at the district, I was like, why is the state doing this? Now I'm, as a state school board member, originally the first reaction is, oh, what is the legislature doing? But now in the work that I've been doing and collaborating with everybody, it really, sometimes we pit ourselves against each other. And what we really need to do is understand that we're all on the same team and that we really want to just do what's best for our kids. And I think that that's the message that needs to go out to the public, that we all have a desire to work together, and it's not one against the other. It's not the levels. It's better understanding of we all have different roles and responsibilities, but we all just want to get on the same page and help shift this culture in education to make sure we're focusing on student outcomes.
Amanda Bollinger is the vice chair of the Utah State Board of Education. Like she mentioned, the state school board is expected to discuss the proposed cuts more in their next meeting tomorrow morning. The cuts they originally proposed would affect things like suicide prevention programs, Utah Fits All, and elementary arts and music programs. The Supreme Court seems poised to reject the Trump administration's push to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. We'll check in with ABC News about today's court hearing. That's next. But first, it's traffic. Traffic and weather is brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Tito?
No issues to report any longer on I-15 as that accident going northbound at the I-215 South interchange just past 7200 South in Midvale. It's all cleared up. We are still dealing with an accident on the Mountain View corridor at the intersection of 3500 South and 6 West as you travel northbound. The left lane is blocked and congestion continues to linger back towards 4100 South. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
One Kind Act a Day is a program from the Semnani Family Foundation. One Kind Act a Day seeks to create kinder communities by inspiring daily acts of deliberate kindness. Their work includes programs in schools, businesses, communities, faith groups, and prisons where they help enhance the culture of kindness and increase a sense of community. The world always needs more kindness. No matter what our background or beliefs are, kindness towards others and ourselves is something that everyone can get behind. Kindness can be big or small, but the ripple effect can reach out in ways that we don't even realize. Wouldn't life be better if we were all a little more kind? You can do your part by starting today. All it takes is one kind act a day. Find out more and take the pledge of kindness at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
You were listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. President Trump says the United States will not use force to acquire Greenland after all, and now he's pulling back his threats of tariffs against countries who don't support his plan to take over the island. His comments coming during the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. The president called for immediate negotiations over the future of Greenland, lashing out at Denmark for being ungrateful for U.S. protection during World War II. Just after the president's remarks, however, the European Parliament voted to suspend a trade deal with the U.S. because of the situation dealing with Greenland. We get more now from News Nation's Robert Sherman.
What we have heard from Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, and she had been vowing for days on end with all the possibilities of these threats of more tariffs being placed on Europe, that Europe would stand in solidarity and would be prepared to rebuke President Trump. But now the European Parliament there just voted to suspend all the work that they had been doing on the trade agreement that was put in place and put into motion between the U.S. and the EU. You were supposed to see some deadlines coming down in the next couple of days, but with everything that's gone on the issue of Greenland and the possibility of more tariffs being placed on Europe, you've seen a lot of members that had been calling throughout the day for all of this to be put on hold. And some of those European members already didn't like the deal in premise that was negotiated with the White House, believing it was too lopsided in favor of the United States. Now you've seen some of this first retaliatory action, which the White House had been warning Europe to not go down this road. You heard Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying this morning that everyone needs to remain calm and listen to the negotiations take place. The president just left the podium a short while ago in which he said he was seeking immediate negotiations on the issue of Greenland, saying that he wanted to put it under U.S. control, left the door open for Europe to say no, adding that if the deal could be struck, he would be appreciative. But if Europe did not agree to a deal, the U.S. would remember it. The big point that he made here is that he viewed this as an issue of national security and does not believe that Europe is adequately prepared in order to defend the Arctic region. Here's what he said just a short while ago.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States. This would greatly enhance the security of the entire alliance, the NATO alliance.
I mean, you've heard the president mentioning throughout the week here, especially after you saw all these European nations moving small numbers of troops over to Greenland for drills that would be taking place there, that the possibility of tariffs could be put on the table, that he wanted to see a deal get done between these European nations. And everyone in the White House circle has remained optimistic that a deal can be struck. This is the first formal retaliatory action that we've seen coming from Europe, in which they're effectively putting this trade agreement on ice. It doesn't mean that it sits there in perpetuity, but the first action being taken out of Brussels here just a few minutes after the president left the podium in Davos.
And we'll have to see how that's going to change again, because just a short time ago, the president says he was withdrawing his threat of tariffs against the European countries who don't support his push to acquire Greenland. No shortage of legal proceedings to talk about today, including a Supreme Court hearing that could go against the Trump administration. With more on this, we are joined by ABC News legal analyst Royal Oakes. Royal, sounds like the Supreme Court may be inclined to reject the president's efforts to fire the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. Tell us what happened today.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know how they're going to rule, but you can tell a lot from reading the tea leaves. And it seems like even the conservative justices that often support Donald Trump, they're very concerned about the independence of the Fed. The idea is they're saying essentially, we don't think that the Fed board of governors folks are at-will employees that may be fired at the will of the president. You probably need good cause. So very likely a decision is going to come soon that will tell Lisa Cook that she may stay in her job at least until the lower courts fully resolve the question of whether President Trump has a right to fire her.
Right. It's not just about Lisa Cook, though. Talk about what implications a decision like this could have.
Well, of course, also on the Fed is the chair, Jerome Powell, and of course we've all been carefully following the dispute between Donald Trump and Powell, and there's a Department of Justice investigation about whether he misrepresented facts regarding the big billion-dollar remodel of the Fed department, the building, and then just in general the question of whether the executive branch has the power to control the independence of agencies in the federal government. So it's a lot riding on the Supreme Court decision.
So is there some sort of timeline for this decision?
No, the U.S. Supreme Court marches to its own drummer. We've all been a little bit perplexed. It's a head-scratcher that we haven't gotten that big tariff decision, because inquiring minds want to know. People all over the world who have been living under the influence of tariffs want to know whether they are legal or whether they get to go for refunds if they're declared illegal. But here, generally, in a big case like this, you'd see the decision out of the U.S. Supreme Court for sure by June 30, when they take their annual summer vacation. But very likely we'll hear about Lisa Cook's future in the next couple of months, perhaps in March or April.
All right, let's shift to Congress and talk about former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the fact that they may be held in contempt of Congress. Tell us about that. How is that happening?
Yeah, so months ago, Bill and Hillary Clinton provided written statements regarding what they knew about Jeffrey Epstein's activities, social business, and so on. But the members of the House Oversight Committee want to follow up those written responses with questions, deposition-type live questioning Q&A of Bill and Hillary Clinton. And within the last week or so, the Clintons said, we just don't think this is fair. We've already given you everything we know. And as a result, the House Oversight Committee has been looking into a vote by the entire House for a congressional contempt, which is not a criminal deal, but if a majority of the House votes to find the Clintons in contempt, then they would be forced to pay some fees. They would be urged to comply with the subpoenas. And then if they don't, you can always go to the Department of Justice with a criminal referral that theoretically could land the Clintons in jail for up to a year. So there's some unpleasantness between this House Oversight Committee and Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Okay, these two haven't been in office for quite some time now. I mean, how rare is something like this?
It's really rare to go after a former president. Sometimes there's an immunity issue, sometimes there's executive privilege. But of course, as you say, it has been a while since Bill Clinton has been in the White House. And just in general, it's not very common for a House committee and the full House to go after somebody for congressional contempt. But it's super rare to be going after a former president and a former Secretary of State.
Yeah, the Clintons have said no. So what's next in this process?
Well, what's next is that the committee, the House Oversight Committee, would have to vote by majority to find them in congressional contempt. If that happens, the full House would decide whether they want to vote by majority to find them in contempt. If that happens, they're in contempt, but not on a criminal basis. Then the Congress would have to decide, are we going to go to the Department of Justice and say, we'd like you to pursue a criminal investigation of the Clintons?
Okay, and so what is the likelihood they'd get a full vote in the House?
Well, the Republican margin, as you know, is razor thin. And in many controversial votes in recent months, the Democrats, who almost have a majority, have been able to entice at least a handful of Republican members of Congress to join them. So I wouldn't go to Vegas and bet on the chance of Congress actually finding the Clintons in contempt of court, but it could be a nail-biter.
All right, Royal, thanks so much for your time. That is ABC News legal analyst Royal Oakes. It's 1:30 midday at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching: more Republicans in Congress showing their support for Senator Lee's push to implement stricter voter requirements, and KSL traffic. Tito?
A trouble-free drive on I-15 this hour. No issues to report on. Maria?
No issues in the forecast as well. We'll get a complete update in a moment.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump in his speech at the World Economic Forum telling leaders he has no plans to acquire Greenland by using military force, but still pushed for the U.S. to take over the Danish territory. After meetings with NATO's leader, the president backing off of imposing tariffs on Europe. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more.
Yesterday, the trade on Wall Street was sell America. We saw that big sell-off in the markets. Today, we're back to taco. Trump always chickens out. This is this idea we got used to during these tariff threats all throughout last spring and the summer, where the president made these big threats against often allies and then ultimately pulled back often after we saw a sell-off in the market. And that is a little bit what we're seeing here today.
A jury in Texas continuing deliberations in the trial of former Uvalde school officer Adrian Gonzalez. He's charged with child endangerment in the 2022 delayed police response during the Robb Elementary mass shooting. And Iranian state TV for the first time announcing an official death toll from recent protests, saying more than 3,100 people died. This is
KSL's top local story. A state lawmaker wants to make it easier to build starter homes in Utah. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott reports.
Representative Raymond Ward says his bill focuses on cutting the red tape that usually hampers small housing projects by setting a timeline for zoning boards to give a yes or a no on a project. If they miss that window, then it's an automatic yes.
For a starter home, if I come in and say I want to build a starter home, and the bill says a starter home is a home that you build for less than the average cost of a home in the county. And it has to be owner-occupied for the first couple of years. So I can't build 30 and sell them off all to a developer to rent. They can tell me no. It's easy to tell me no, but they'd have to take action to tell me no, or else I'd be allowed to build a starter home.
Ward says negotiations around zoning can often turn small, inexpensive projects into unaffordable, larger, albeit nicer properties. Cameron Elliott, KSL News Radio.
Other local stories KSL is following. A well-known water feature could be making a return to Gunlock Reservoir this spring. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis has more.
Gunlock Falls only makes an appearance 3 out of 7 years, Washington County officials estimate. But when they do come crashing over the rocks, it's a sight to see. The reservoir needs to be 105% full to trigger the feature, and right now it's sitting at 103%. The reservoir is unique in that it's only used for irrigation, and its position allows it to collect flood water from around the area, which keeps its water level high, while other reservoirs struggle.
If the waterfalls show up, it will be early in the spring, usually around mid-March. Taking a look at your money at this moment, markets in a great condition after the president's comments about tariffs. The Dow up by 569 points, sitting at 49,055. S&P up by 76, and the NASDAQ gets up by 264 points. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU Supercharger Savings at uccu.com. Here's Tito Nani.
Our major valley freeways look to be in great shape at this hour. No accidents or slowdowns to report on I-15, 215, and I-80. However, we're still dealing with lingering delays on the Mountain View corridor between 35th and 41st South. This is like this is traveling northbound. It's due to an accident at the intersection at 3500 South, which is blocking off the right lane. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Very slight chance of showers over the next 7 days, and at that, rain showers just a 10% chance on Friday, with highs staying in the 40s and lows in the 20s. Right now, 43 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
My friend Joey loves to use old familiar sayings.
You know what they say.
The problem is,
don't look at a gift horse, cause you can't make them drink.
He gets a lot of them mixed up.
People who live in glass houses,
here it comes,
shouldn't cry over spilt milk.
There are also a lot of sayings in the financial world, like, you'll pay lower taxes in retirement. But for many people, it's just not true. You may have done a great job saving in that 401k or IRA, but Uncle Sam is ready to grab a big portion of that money. The team at Galileo Wealth Management can help with strategies that you can start now to lower your tax bill in the future. More for you and less for Uncle Sam.
Or as they say, an apple a day is worth two in the bush.
Get the facts on your tax bill in retirement. Call Galileo Wealth today at 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online at GalileoWealth.com.
And remember, a stitch in time keeps the doctor away. It does, you know.
Welcome to guided meditation. Close your eyes. You're at the beach. The seagulls are calling. You take out your iPhone 16e you got from Cricket and use Apple Intelligence to clean up that selfie you just took. It's a good one. You send it to your friends instantly thanks to reliable nationwide 5G. They're totally jealous. Get iPhone 16e for $49.99 when you switch. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new line on the Supreme Unlimited plan. First service charge and tax due at sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Republicans in the U.S. House are ramping up their efforts to ban non-citizens from voting in elections. Senator Mike Lee telling the Deseret News that they plan to implement stricter voter requirements on U.S. citizens. Deseret News congressional correspondent Cami Mondo has been following developments with what is being called the SAVE Act, or the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act.
Yeah, so we've seen this bill come up from Senator Mike Lee in years past. It's actually passed the House 2 times already in the past 3 years. But now House Republicans are moving forward with plans to kind of add more requirements and restrictions for voting in federal elections, to add a requirement to have photo ID when you go to register to vote and to cast a ballot.
Okay, we know this is about non-citizens, but I'm confused because isn't it true that non-citizens can't vote already?
It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote, and it can actually lead to felony charges or even deportation. And so we've seen a lot of pushback from, people who say that a lot of these non-citizens wouldn't vote in these elections anyway because they don't want to get caught and they don't want to get deported if they're waiting for hearings to earn their citizenship. And so instances of non-citizens voting are rare, and it's often done by mistake.
Okay. I know that they are trying to make some changes to this act. Let's talk about some of the criticism. One of the criticisms I had heard in the past is that it would be problematic for women who have changed their name due to showing their ID.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest concerns, especially because a lot of the requirements would require, maybe a birth certificate or some certification that has their names from when they were born and not their married names. Mike Lee and other lawmakers say that that's not true, that you can offer up different kinds of identification, but it's still not clear. That's probably something that would need to be written into the legislation, but it just hasn't been drafted that way as of yet.
So what are some of the other changes they're hoping to make?
And so really what they want to do is they want to make sure that current ID for voting kind of follows the real ID guidelines that we saw go into effect last summer about when you go to the airport for traveling. So it would have to follow those real ID guidelines or, just the passport or some other citizenship document. The legislation that has already been passed with the SAVE Act did not require photo ID, but now that's something that Republicans want to add on top of the legislation to make sure that people can't just apply for these citizen documents and not prove who they are or where they were born.
With it being so rare that this actually even happens, that non-residents have been allowed to vote, why such a strong effort to do this?
This was a major push for Trump on the campaign trail last year, and something that he just haven't been able to follow through with yet. So this could just be a final push, before the midterm elections this November to get another win for Donald Trump. The main win that they have is that main tax bill from last summer, but that's kind of, getting a little bit older, can't campaign on it as well. So it might just be something that they need for messaging as they head into November.
Any indication when they'll be ready with this new version, and is there some sort of timeline of when it will hit the floor?
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise told us this morning that they are working on it. Mike Lee told me that he's working with others to actually draft that bill, but there's no timeline as of now of when that could be finished or whether it will even be voted on in the Senate. The other two versions that did pass the House never made it to the Senate for a vote.
Okay, anything else we need to know about this?
I think that's all that there is on this, except just keeping an eye on whether this actually can get moving. We're going to see lawmakers move into midterm campaign mode here in the next few months, so a lot of time on the Hill won't be as productive as other months.
Cami Mondo is a congressional correspondent for the Deseret News. Homeless families in St. George are getting some much-needed help from an expanded community center and shelter. Up until now, there was only a small shelter in the city, and it was exclusively for domestic violence victims. Zachary Almaguer says the need for the new expansion at the Switch Point homeless shelter was critical.
One of the most difficult things in our work in critical emergency shelters like this is keeping families together. Prior to this family extension unit being constructed, our solution was to take rooms that were traditionally able to hold 4 to 6 individuals and convert those rooms for one family. Now, due to funding from the state of Utah and private family foundations, we've been able to construct this new family unit, which has 16 rooms inside, each of which is dedicated for parents that have children in their family under the age of 18.
Thanks to generous donations, he says they've been able to make the new community center a welcoming place.
On the lower level, if you were to walk in, you would be greeted with a large format, almost welcoming cafeteria environment. That's where lunch is served. As soon as you open the door, there's a long lunch line. And a lot of times when you're seeking services or help, there are a lot of questions to be asked. But when you head to our community kitchen, the only question our chef is going to ask you, Chef Eric, he'll ask, do you want one of everything? We're able to provide that from the generosity of the community that helps fund our mission. Then upstairs, we have 13 family rooms, and downstairs 3 additional to accommodate for ADA needs. Each of the rooms has its own secure private lock, its own private bathroom, its large seating areas, living area, as well as access to closets and even bay windows with large windows so that you can look outside at the Red Rock environment. We really wanted this to be a place that if families had been sleeping outside, they'd recently been staying in their car maybe for possibly weeks, a place that they could step into and immediately feel safe, feel warm, feel taken care of. So it is a large building, and it's on our new campus. In fact, we are a community center, so I would encourage the public to visit us in St. George.
Almaguer tells KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi they were able to open the kitchen first to meet the growing need for food in the area.
So we've been serving nearly 3,000 meals every 2 weeks right out of that kitchen. But just this past week, families have begun to move into the facility. We have 3 families in as of right now. I believe it'll be 5, I'm told, by the end of the week. And with the 16 rooms, and we see the needs increasing, I'm sure it won't be long before we'll be talking about other services that need to expand. And that's just the reality of where the situation's at. But the truth is, SwitchPoint is a comprehensive solution. We provide food pantries and emergency shelter. But neither of those actually solve the problem of homelessness. They're necessary. But in our world, we hope they're just a step to a more comprehensive solution. While we believe that housing first models that just put people directly into homes may have some problems and issues that need to be worked through, our solution of Housing Plus and our comprehensive model is designed to make sure that clients and guests have the skill sets they need to where a house might actually be not just a quick solution, but a permanent solution. Our ultimate goal is to get people into homes. That's the only way to end homelessness.
Almaguer says that they will need volunteers and donations to keep the shelter open. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
Every January, Duke's Jewelers celebrates another year serving the Springville community. And this year, they're doing it in a big way. It's the anniversary sale. And for 3 days only, January 22nd through 24th, all jewelry in the store is 50% off. That's right, half off everything in the case. Diamonds, gold, colored gemstones, signature pieces, everyday favorites. If it sparkles, it's on sale. And that's not all. For those dreaming up something one of a kind, special orders, custom design projects, and all watches are 25% off. Duke's Jewelers is proud to be a fourth-generation family-run business, and this sale is the Duke's way of saying thank you for supporting local, choosing Main Street, and trusting Duke's Jewelers with your most meaningful moments. But don't wait. These savings last just 3 days. January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Visit Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville and shop the biggest sale of the entire year. Duke's Jewelers. Elevate every moment. Some exclusions apply.
If you had an emergency pop up and needed to dish out $1,000, could you do it? A new study says that just under 50% of Americans have enough money to cover a $1,000 surprise expense. In fact, the Bankrate study finds that about a third of all Americans would find themselves going into debt to cover that kind of an emergency cost. Let's get more on that survey and what it means from Bankrate senior economist Mark Hamrick. Mark, thanks for being with me.
Hello, Maria.
Okay, Mark, sounds crazy that more than half of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense.
Well, it's very consistent with our findings over these many years. We do this emergency savings research. It's definitely sort of an industry-leading survey that we do. The Federal Reserve does one that I believe covers a $400 expense, but they all tend to point in the same direction. Listen, we are a paycheck-to-paycheck country. Many Americans live that way. It's become even more challenging with affordability challenges abounding, the result of historically high inflation. We have a Congress that lives paycheck to paycheck in a sense of kicking the can down the road. We're still facing the possibility of another federal government shutdown only about a week and a half away unless they fund appropriations once again. So this is basically a systemic issue in the United States of America.
You said you've been watching this for several years. Does the trend show that things are getting better or worse?
We have changed the methodology this year because in the past we had not included being able to pay from regular income or cash flow. But I would say it's always been the case that the majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck since we've been doing this study for over a decade.
So we were having a conversation in the newsroom, and I was talking with the young adults around me saying that, hey, they could just save just small amounts. And that conversation didn't go over very well with them, just telling them they can save, just a little bit of money. What is your advice?
First of all, financial literacy in the United States is woefully inadequate compared to many other countries around the world. What is the primary message that is essentially out there with respect to managing money? It is you need to spend it. You need to be the owner of so many things. And so saving really doesn't have a prayer in our society, even though it really does need to be something that has a higher priority. I say in terms of a solution, part of it is to begin by living beneath your means. You should not be trying to, put on airs to live your most Instagrammable life because that's not sustainable. Live a healthy life. Live a life where your financial and physical well-being are prioritized. But if you're only living for today, that means you're penalizing yourself for tomorrow. So by prioritizing saving, understood that this is a journey, particularly for the young people that you alluded to there. You have to begin somewhere. And so with that, we advise that you have a dedicated high-yield savings account. You can get an annual return of 3.5%, 4% in that account these days, which is better than putting on a credit card with an APR of 25 or 30%. And you're paying yourself first. So begin small if you have to, but continue to fund that account over time. And that's your emergency savings account. I'd advise having maybe a separate account for achieving intermediate goals, such as if you plan to take a vacation, if you want to save for gifts for the holiday season that is now, just over 11 months away next year or later in this year. But we really do have to prioritize saving. And that's part of the reason why we have this message on the findings is that, 33% would go into debt, 17% would use a credit card and pay it over time, 12% would borrow from family or friends, and 3% would take a personal loan because they haven't prioritized their savings.
Mark, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with me.
Thank you.
Mark Hamrick is Bankrate's senior economist. And coming up, the popular Gunlock Reservoir in southern Utah is about to crest, meaning the Gunlock Falls could make a reappearance soon. Details on that coming up after the break. But first, it's KSL Traffic. It's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Tito?
Our major valley freeways are still moving along at good speeds for the most part. However, we do have a new accident. It's on northbound I-15 just before the I-80 interchange. It's off to the right shoulder and no lanes are blocked. However, there is some slowing back towards 3300 South. And the main issue we've been dealing with this afternoon, delays still linger on the northbound Mountain View corridor between 41st South and 35th South. That accident at the 35th South intersection is still being cleared and the right lane is still blocked off. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Have you already given up on trying to take off those extra pounds because you just don't have the time to exercise for an hour a day, or you think that you just can't lose weight? Hey, that was my situation a couple of years ago before I found out about Salt Lake City Fat Loss. This is a great plan that helped me lose more than 40 pounds, but many of their clients lose up to a pound per day. It's all natural. It's strategic. It uses a combination of foods to help you drop the weight and drop it fast. And you know how that is. If those pounds come off quickly, you're more likely to stick with the plan. This plan is also a lot less expensive than other plans. You're not paying a nutritionist. You're not buying things like breakfast bars and shakes. My husband even lost weight on this plan, and he wasn't, you didn't pay for this plan. He was just eating what I was eating. Right now is a great time to save because they are still offering their New Year's special, 20% off, but this sale isn't going to last very long. Remember, many of their clients lose up to a pound per day. Wouldn't that be nice to do before summer? Learn how you can save. Lock in those savings right now at slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
Ben Care was born with Crouzon syndrome, told he'd face a life of limits.
People do a lot for someone to notice them, just trying to get someone to pay attention to them. That's not your deal.
Impossible adversity didn't break him.
You will never live an ordinary life.
It fueled him.
So make it extraordinary.
Wrestling defined him. Courage shaped him. And refusing to be normal became his superpower.
We could make excuses, or we can just chew the excuses up and swallow them. And then you end up like Ben.
This is the true story of a young man who didn't just rise above the odds, he crushed them.
A local wrestler could have used his physical limitations to quit sports. Instead, he used it in his advantage.
Stand Out, the Ben Care story. In theaters now, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Get tickets at standoutfilm.com. When life says you can't, Ben Care proves you can. Standoutfilm.com.
Gold demand is skyrocketing to record highs. As more Americans rush to preserve their savings, will there be enough gold? I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and I believe physical gold is the only way to truly protect your 401k or IRA savings. Gold offers tangible security that can't be tracked, stolen, or inflated. That's why I strongly advocate for gold IRAs. To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 now. Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, and their thousands of great reviews prove I'm not alone. So don't wait another second. Protect your retirement savings today and see how easy it is to move your IRA or 401k into physical precious metals. Text SECURE to the number 989898 for your free Gold IRA Info Kit. Again, SECURE to 989898.
Message and data rates may apply.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
This is Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. It's teetering on the edge right now, but it looks like it just might push over the limit. That's right, the Gunlock Falls could soon flow again at Gunlock State Park in southern Utah. The waterfalls show up when the reservoir tips over 105% fill, and right now it's sitting at 103%. Washington County Water Conservation District Operation Manager Dave Jessup says although the snowpack has been low in most of the state, it hasn't hindered Gunlock.
The difference with Gunlock Reservoir versus our other reservoirs is Gunlock is an on-stream reservoir. It sits on the Santa Clara, so all flood water that goes down the Santa Clara goes into that reservoir, where our other reservoirs are off-stream and they're filled with pipelines, and so they only collect a small portion of flood water. And so Gunlock kind of gives us a little bit of a false notion of our water year in that that flood water is collected there more on that west side, if that makes any sense. And so Gunlock is actually pretty much full right now. And so we may see some intermittent times when it will spill, but it'll be very short-lived.
He tells KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis that the spill could last only a few days, or it could last for several days, but he warns that it all depends on how much water is being used or diverted further upstream.
The demand that we have on the system, that water is being used year-round, obviously more demand in the summer than in the winter. And also with how much runoff we may or may not get. If we get a lot of snow runoff, we'll see that spill for quite some time. If things keep going the way they are, it may not spill at all, but we'll just have to see what this year does to us here.
Jessup says they can't guarantee the falls will make an appearance this year, but if they do, it will be around mid-March. And I can tell you firsthand, when it does happen, since it doesn't happen every year, the crowds flock to see these beautiful falls, to see that water crashing over the Red Rocks. The fate of the historic old mill at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon is in jeopardy as the property owner asks the city to clear the way for its demolition. Over the decades, that stone building has served as a paper mill, a dance and music venue, and even a haunted house. Cottonwood Heights condemned the abandoned building 20 years ago, and now the property owner is asking for a permit to tear down the building, saying it's in danger of collapsing. That request has community members upset because the mill is listed in the National Historic Register. Lindsay Murphy is among those fighting to save it.
There's a lot of history behind that mill, a lot of history in how it shaped not only Cottonwood Heights, but all of Utah. And there's been multiple fires there. But, after each fire, there's been multiple businesses that have gone up. Like I remember my parents telling me that they did a haunted house there when they were younger. And then growing up, my dad would always drive me past the old mill because I'm really into historical buildings and history and, the history of Utah and just I love architecture and I just, so it was something that my dad had driven me past and I just automatically fell in love with the old mill and I love driving past it and I love going there and visiting the building. And, when I was younger, we're talking elementary, my parents would ask me what I wanted to do for my birthday parties. And I would say, I want you to take me and my friends to go see the old mill. It has a lot of history behind it. And there's a lot of people that love that building. It means a lot to a lot of people. And it kind of has, like I said, shaped not only Cottonwood Heights, but Utah. And so it was very frustrating that something that has so much history and that means so much to so many people is going to be tore down to create, a development for apartments and condos, which it's not something that we want. It's not even something that we need or that we're ready for.
Murphy says the city isn't ready for more development, saying that the infrastructure for things like roads isn't even in place. She's hoping the voice of the community isn't lost in the conversation about the mill's future.
I know that the developers that are wanting to buy the old mill is coming in with quite a bit of money. I guess it's kind of between money and preserving history. Right. There's definitely an opportunity to make money and get this area, this land sold. But on the other hand, it's preserving history, which isn't really going to bring them anything, So I just really hope that the city really talks to people in Utah and specifically in Cottonwood Heights and really gets their feedback on what they want, because there's a lot of money. I understand that in what they want to do, but it's not always about that.
Murphy tells KSL News Radio's McKenna Rodriguez that she's always seen such great potential for this iconic structure.
And I always kind of dreamed of owning the old mill. Always. My whole life, I've always dreamed of purchasing the old mill myself and turning it into either a bed and breakfast or a really cool restaurant like Archibald's in Gardner Village. So anyway, it's just a really big part of my life and a really big part of a lot of people's lives, and it's just really sad that it's going to be potentially tore down.
Cottonwood Heights Planning Commission is taking public comment on that matter today.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The Big 12 football schedule for next season is out, and we now know who Utah and BYU will face off with on the field. But the makeup of the teams in the conference changing dramatically from last season.
Can't guess anymore about how teams are going to be doing. Is we've just been shocked by how teams have improved or gotten terrible, in 1 year span. And so guessing on how tough a schedule is going to be, teams change full rosters now in off seasons.
The time is 2 o'clock on Wednesday, January 21st. It's midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Coming up, so what might fans be able to expect this coming year? We'll get some insights from KSL Sports. Also this hour,
talking about a significant and potentially crippling winter storm with ice and snow. And we're really concerned about where that rain-snow line sets up, not just where the heaviest snow is, because that's really difficult to deal with.
Not a lot of snow here in Utah, but that's not the case back east. Millions of Americans now expecting to see loads of snow, icy conditions, and bitter cold temperatures. But first, our top stories. Utah's public school leaders met with state lawmakers today to discuss their budget for the first time since the legislature asked them to cut hundreds of millions of dollars of expenses. KSL News Radio's Adam Small begins our team coverage.
The legislature sent the Utah State Board of Education a letter earlier this month and gave them just 1 week to find $300 million they could cut out of their budget. Today, some members of the state school board met with lawmakers, though the cuts weren't the main topic of discussion. State Senator Lincoln Fillmore, though, brought up why the board is being asked to do this in the first place.
The federal government action, it took away about $300 million in ongoing revenue. And then you take out what is statutory obligated to be able to pay, and there's really $0 left.
Senator Fillmore also discussed a bill he's pushing that seeks to open up some money from a state account meant to help schools during economic downturns. The state school board is expected to discuss the proposed cuts more in their next meeting tomorrow morning. The ones they originally put on the table would affect things like suicide prevention programs, Utah Fits All, and elementary arts and music programs. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
The vice chair of the state school board thinks that there has been a bit of a misunderstanding about these budget cuts.
Amanda Bollinger says when they took a deeper look at what lawmakers were asking, they realized they were asking the board to reevaluate the programs they're offering.
It's almost like when you look at your home budget and you're like, oh, I have 7 subscriptions to TVs. Maybe I need to cut some of these. Maybe I need to consolidate. And I think that that's really what they're asking us to do.
Bollinger says they've looked at their priorities and now they're deciding if the money they're spending is really helping get where they want to be in serving students across the state. Reporting from the state capitol, Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story from ABC News. The Supreme Court heard arguments today regarding President Trump's effort to immediately oust Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook.
Beyond Cook's case, the hearing touches on the broader conflict between the executive branch and independent agencies. Today's argument comes amid wider tensions between President Trump and the Fed, including a probe into Fed Chair Jerome Powell, raising questions about political influence over monetary policy.
ABC News legal contributor Royal Oakes reporting Cooks is fighting her firing, from the Board of Governors, and justices are questioning how the president's firing could maintain the independence of the Fed. Taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, all the major markets up by more than 1%. The Dow up by 588 points, sitting at 49,077. S&P up by 79 points, and the Nasdaq up by 270 points. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. Here's Tito Nani.
Things are still rolling right along for the most part on our major valley freeways. We did have an accident earlier on northbound I-15 just before the I-80 interchange in Salt Lake County. It is off to the right shoulder and out of traffic. And good news, that accident going northbound on the Mountain View corridor at 35th South, it's all cleared up. Congestion now looks to be thinning out significantly back towards 41st South. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Not much change in the forecast over the next 7 days. Highs staying in the 40s, lows in the 20s, and only a very slight chance of rain on Friday. 43 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the megastores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Thanks for tuning into Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Football fans, listen up. The Big 12 football schedule for the next season is out today. BYU and the U looking to face some new challengers this time around. Those who are hoping for some redemption games this coming year, though, might be a little disappointed. KSL Sports' Alex Curie joined me to give his reaction to the lineup.
Yeah, listen, I would love to say, Maria, that we are looking at the schedule and then you go, oh, the thing that you do when you see schedules is, oh, they have an easy schedule, oh, they have a hard schedule. Because every team isn't going to play each other in the Big 12 every year, you have the tendency to kind of guess and go, oh, they're avoiding this team. So here's a big one that both Utah and BYU are going to be avoiding. Now they're going to play Texas Tech this year, who are the Big 12 champs. That's fine, but we don't know who the next big, that's the thing about these conference teams now. In the transfer portal, they become totally different teams. And so next year's schedule is going to be difficult in its own way because you're not actually going to know exactly who the personnel are necessarily. Some teams have the same people, some don't. And so just like we've seen quick rises, I mean, look at the national champion, Indiana. They were a no-show for the past 80 years in that conference in the Big Ten. They flip things in 2 years. They become a really, really good team. So every team has the ability to kind of switch things around, and we've seen it go the other direction too in the Big 12. Oklahoma State goes 2 years removed from being the champion to They've only won one game in 2 years. So it's a toss-up every year. So, but anybody who's going to tell you that somebody has a really, really easy schedule or a really, really hard schedule, I think you can say with good confidence that BYU and Utah both avoiding Texas Tech is good for the strength of the schedule not to be too difficult.
So, I mean, that just feels really weird to me to be avoiding Texas Tech. I mean, wouldn't the goal be to beat Texas Tech and not avoid them?
I agree. The interesting thing is that they're not – it's whatever the conference does, and the conference decides. You know, last year we had a real big problem because Utah and BYU were missing games in BYU's case against Arizona State. That feels like that's a historic kind of, semi-rivalry game. Same thing with Utah and Arizona. They should be playing each other every year, but they're not. And so this year you're going to have a different schedule, obviously, but the ones that are new on these schedules for both of these teams, you're having to hit the road long ways in the Big 12. You're going to have to go on the road and go a long way. For Utah, they got to go to Iowa State. They have to go to Cincinnati. They have to go to TCU. They got to go to Arizona. Those are all difficult road games. Those are all games that were tough for everybody all year. And going out to those places is a lot of travel, but everybody's got to travel far in this country now for college football. It's a big one. It's a thing everybody's doing every year now.
So here the challenges from what you're saying is tough to know how you're going to match up or how you're going to prepare for some of these teams, and also, the distance you have to travel to play the games.
Yeah, and this is one of the semi-decent conferences in terms of distance, but you're going to have when you have a 2 time zone difference of games that you're going to go to a couple times a year, that's difficult. And the reason you can't guess anymore about how teams are going to be doing is we've just been shocked by how teams have improved or gotten terrible, in 1 year span. And so guessing on how tough a schedule is going to be, how good is Iowa State going to be? They lost 38 people into the transfer portal, including their head coach. Well, their head coach obviously went in the transfer portal, but he took everybody on the team. The big joke is that Penn State is basically just Iowa State now, but just with different jerseys on. So teams change full rosters now in off seasons because of the transfer portal and because of coaching changes. And so trying to guess, I love seeing people go, oh, they have a hard schedule. Oh, they have an easy schedule. The only thing that you know for sure is going to be hard is long distance trips. It doesn't matter who it is. Those are difficult to try to get your team ready for a game that's, in Florida, in West Virginia, wherever they might be. When you have teams like UCF or like Houston or like West Virginia or Cincinnati, you're going a good chunk of distance to be able to get to those places every year.
Okay, so let's talk about the rivalry game. What does the schedule say about the big rivalry game between BYU and Utah?
Well, luckily that one does not get taken off of the off of the schedule, despite the fact that there's rumors swirling around of conferences realigning again or whatever it might be. Yeah, Utah and BYU are going to be facing off against one another, and it's going to be later in the season than it was this last year. It's going to be week 10, so you're going to be into a late October game versus a September game, which is, I think, better for everybody else. I still think everybody would prefer a last game of the season deal for a real rivalry game, which this is really the only big rivalry game in the Big 12. I think it's the premier rivalry at least. And so I think that's going to be a tough one to be able to switch it up all the time every year. It needs to be the last game of the year, but playing each other at Rice-Eccles Stadium, week 10 of the season.
Okay. Any other thoughts about the schedule that we need to know about?
Yeah, don't believe anybody who tells you that one team has an advantage over another with these scheduling. It's a tough thing because they're going to miss it on. I don't think because you have so many teams in the conference, you have 16 teams, they all have to play 9 games. So you're obviously going to miss people every year. And so that argument of, well, they had to play this team and not this team, you're going to get it every year. You just have to beat whoever's in front of you. And the other big news, well, I guess it's not big news. It's big for us sports people. They're moving the conference championship game instead of Saturday morning to a Friday night. So it'll be that premier Friday night game the week after the season ends officially and the conference championships are going on. So it'll be a Friday night game instead of a Saturday day game.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Kind of strange. Any idea why they did that? TV? What is it?
Yes, Maria, you nailed it. It's always about just trying out what the ratings are going to look like and, who's going to tune in. The Pac-12 tried to do this a couple of times where it's like, okay, we're going to be a Friday night. Now we're going to be a Saturday. Now we're going to be a Friday night. But you're competing against other conference championship games on the very same weekend. If you can carve out a primetime spot for yourself. Even if Friday night, I think it's a better deal.
KSL Sports' Alex Curie there. You can find the full lineup for BYU and the U at kslsports.com. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Midday in just 60 seconds.
I have some good news for you today. Pay attention, pull over, whatever. American Home Loans has lowered their mortgage rates to only 5.5% on 30-year loans and 4 3/4 for 15 years. Yes, 5.5% fixed. But wait, what if rates go down again? No problem. Once you're a customer with American Home Loans, you don't have to worry about paying closing costs every time you refinance. That's right. Every time rates drop by 0.25% or more, they'll refinance you at no cost to you. Zero, zilch, nada. For details, call 801-262-2221. 262-2221. So now you can purchase a home or refinance at only 5.5% on 30 years and 4 3/4 on 15 years. And then if rates drop later, you can refinance at no cost to you. Call American Home Loans at 801-262-2221. 262-2221 or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com. AmericanHomeLoans.com. NMLS 245422, APR 5.8 30-year and 5% 15-year. Terms and conditions apply.
We are following breaking news here on Midday. A House committee has voted to charge Bill and Hillary Clinton with contempt of Congress. The decision comes after the Clintons refused to testify in the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. We just spoke with ABC's legal analyst, Royal Oakes, about this possibility, but now it's a fact. If the full House approves the charges, the Clintons could face a $100,000 fine and up to a year in prison. Moving to local news now, several counties in Utah have radon levels so high that the risk of lung cancer is equal to smoking a half a pack of cigarettes a day. That's according to new data which shows that roughly half of Utahns live in homes with high radon levels. Now, you probably heard the term radon, but do you know what it actually is or how to mitigate it? Let's bring in an expert to chat about it. It's the radon coordinator at the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, Eleanor Diver. Eleanor, thanks so much for being with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks.
So help us out with this. What actually is radon?
So great question. Radon is naturally occurring. It comes from the breakdown of uranium that is naturally in our soil, in our rock. And so as it breaks down, it creates radon gas. And the radon gas finds little cracks and crevices to come up through our home, and then when it's in elevated levels in our home, that is when we're concerned about the potential for lung cancer.
And why is it such a big deal? Why is it so prevalent here in Utah?
So if we look at our geology, we know that we have more uranium in our soil and our rocks than other states.
So how does this affect us if there's too much radon in our homes?
So if it comes in the home and then it's stagnant, it's not like it's moving around. And so then we're going to bed at night, we're sleeping, we're watching our movies, we're breathing that in. And then it can create havoc inside our lung tissues, which is the soft, fine tissue. And then it unfortunately can cause lung cancer. So that's why it's so important to test. And testing is so easy. You could go to our website, which is radon.utah.gov. That's the state's website. And for $14, purchase a radon test kit. It just takes 2 to 3 days. It's very self-explanatory. You can even go to our website for a tutorial. Go ahead, test your home, and then get that mailed in, and then check in with us when you get those levels. But the level that you want to see is less than 4 picocuries.
Yeah, my husband did this just recently, and it's like just putting I want to say a box or something just in your basement for several days, and it measures the radon, right?
Yeah, I know. You get it, and you're looking at it like, how is this activated charcoal going to measure the radon levels? But it does. It's able to measure it. We get that back in. And, sometimes if you're between 4 and 6, we'll recommend doing a long-term test kit, but not to complicate it. The most important part is to just get your home tested, because we see really high levels. Like we'll see levels of 250 or 25 or 180 or 36. And that's why everyone who is in a dwelling needs to test, because you don't know if you happen to be that one individual that has that high elevated radon level. And it's a really pretty easy fix. So if you happen to be one of those high levels, you can get something called a mitigation system. And it's a pretty simple system. It's about $2,000, and I know that can be costly. We did have a grant. It got pulled, but, once again, reach out to us, and maybe we can help you figure out some different funding sources.
Eleanor, thanks so much for being with me.
Yeah, you betcha.
That is Eleanor Diver, Radon Coordinator at the Utah Department of Environmental Quality. We are now 1 year into President Trump's second term. We'll get political highlights of this last year next. But first, it's traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. Tito?
A trouble-free drive this hour if you're traveling on I-15 going both ways along the Wasatch Front. I-80 and I-215 look to be moving at good speeds as well, and no issues to report on our other major roads as the 21st South Freeway and Bangerter Highway are all rolling right along. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Ready for your next vehicle? At Performance Automotive in Bountiful, your new Ford, Toyota, or Honda is here. Built for Utah communities, Canyon weekends, and everything in between. Choose capability with Ford, long-lasting reliability with Toyota, or smooth efficiency with Honda. Backed by friendly experts and financing options that fit your budget. Visit Performance Ford, Performance Toyota, and Performance Honda for your test drive. Browse inventory, check pricing, and schedule your visit at performancebountiful.com. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, driven to be the best.
When you're making resolutions for the new year, have you ever thought of making a resolution to get a new metabolism?
So that your body is burning fat more naturally. I used to have a terrible metabolism because I didn't know what to eat or when to eat it until I did SOTA weight loss. I let go of 37 pounds, and now my metabolism works for me.
I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and it was so nice because once that metabolism changes, the things that affected you more regularly don't affect you anymore. And those are the things that I learned from my nutritionist as I was going along and even afterward. It's so helpful. They taught me how to be successful for life.
You can call and speak to a nutritionist at SOTA Weight Loss today at 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A. That's 866-800-SOTA.
Or you can go to sodaweightloss.com and see the hundreds of before and after pictures. And right now is the best time to do it because if you join now, your partner joins for free, so you get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
It's 866-800-SOTA.
Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Jeff Selke, president of Selke Financial Group, has been helping Utah families protect and grow their money for nearly 3 decades. He's a certified financial fiduciary who believes education comes first. He even teaches during BYU Education Week. And right now, Jeff is offering his free tax estimator for retirement calculator. It's right on his homepage. See how taxes could impact your retirement income before you make costly mistakes. It's easy and free at safemoneycounselor.com.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore, and every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. The average text takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop texts, stopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. President Trump marking the completion of the first year of his second term. In a meeting with reporters that lasted more than an hour, he outlined what he considers his greatest achievements over the past year in office. The comments coming about a month before his State of the Union address to Congress.
The president spoke for more than an hour, going down a laundry list of his accomplishments in the first year of his second term. It could be a tough sell. A recent poll from the Associated Press, for instance, showing just 4 in 10 Americans think that the president is doing a good job.
These are accomplishments.
Marking 1 year in office, President Donald Trump took a victory lap in the White House briefing room Tuesday.
We've done more than any other administration has done by far. In terms of military, in terms of ending wars, in terms of...
The president spoke for more than an hour, going down a laundry list of his accomplishments in the first year of his second term. It could be a tough sell. A recent poll from the Associated Press, for instance, showing just 4 in 10 Americans think that the president is doing a good job.
These are accomplishments.
Marking 1 year in office, President Donald Trump took a victory lap in the White House briefing room Tuesday.
We've done more than any other administration has done by far in terms of military, in terms of ending wars, in terms of completing wars.
To date, he signed more than 200 executive orders. Combined with his flagship Big Beautiful Bill, the president has made due on campaign promises to ramp up ICE enforcement and deportations, an issue he highlighted from the podium.
A lot of bad people.
And roll back what he calls burdensome environmental regulations. Also cut federal spending by gutting government agencies like USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
We've accomplished a lot in the first year.
Congressional Republicans have been in lockstep with the president, and they say soon Americans will reap the benefits.
We're working on a whole up and down solution to try to drive down those costs for consumers.
Democrats disagree. Illinois Congressman Eric Sorensen represents a purple district in Illinois. He warns the president's tariffs are doing real damage.
The trade war with China? That's not helping the farmers. And this administration is ignoring those people.
And of course, the Supreme Court will soon decide if those tariffs are lawful. President Trump is holding out hope that they are. He says they're bringing in billions of dollars in revenue. And just over the weekend, he threatened to slap more tariffs on 8 European countries because they refuse to support his effort to take over Greenland.
That is News Nation's Raquel Martin reporting. It's snowless here in Salt Lake City. We're on track to have the worst snow year in recorded history. KSL meteorologists say so far in the city itself, we've only seen about 1/10 of an inch of snow this season. But elsewhere in the country, massive snow dumps and bitterly cold temperatures. Earlier this week in western Michigan, officials closed I-196 for several hours after more than 100 cars slammed into each other or spun off the road due to heavy snow and whiteout conditions. Now that storm is moving south.
The South bracing for a major winter storm that could bring record-breaking snow and dangerous ice. Forecasters warning of a widespread, potentially catastrophic event from Texas to the Carolinas. Snow and freezing rain expected to move in Friday before pushing east over the weekend. The governor of Texas already activating emergency response resources, hoping to prevent a repeat of the devastating storm that led to widespread power outages back in 2021. ERCOT, which handles electricity for most of the state, says it's confident this time the grid will hold.
We have faster response reliability services. We have better coordination among the state agencies, and we have more transparency for the public.
All this comes as a brutal Arctic blast grips nearly half the country.
You hear everybody tell you they're very, very cold, but keep moving and later up.
feel like temperatures plunging to the single digits in New York and Boston. Parts of the upper Midwest could see wind chills of 50 below zero.
Dress in layers that trap heat, cover exposed skin, limit your time outdoors, and actually try to avoid alcohol, which can increase heat loss.
Natural gas prices now soaring, with the frigid weather set to last through the weekend. The bitter cold even impacting the nation's blood supply. The Red Cross declaring a severe shortage, in part because so many blood drives had to be canceled due to recent storms and freezing temperatures.
That is ABC Sophie Play reporting. As for us here in Salt Lake City, still no snow in the forecast. For years now, doctors have complained about the BMI rankings, the body mass index. It does boss us a bit. Many have said it wasn't accurate or it didn't provide a full picture of obesity levels in the U.S. Now, that changed early this year, and now we have new data on how Americans' weight and health affects us.
Earlier this year, new guidelines proposed combining BMI with waist and body fat for a more precise definition of obesity. When a new JAMA Network Open study applied that framework to over 300,000 adults over 4 years, obesity rates jumped from 43% to nearly 69%, a more than 20% increase. And about 25% of people with a healthy BMI were reclassified as obese due to a thickening waistline or higher body fat levels. Those newly classified as obese also had up to 6 times the risk of diabetes and heart disease, and nearly triple the risk of early death. But the new system is far from perfect. It relies on measurements that can vary or be inaccurate, making misclassification a real concern. Plus, it's time-consuming to implement. Still, the message is clear: no matter how you measure it, maintaining a healthy weight and body fat are both critical.
That is ABC's Michelle Franzen on the Medical Minute. It's 2:30, midday at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. President Trump announcing a framework for a deal with NATO over the future of Greenland. State lawmakers tackling the public education budget on this second day of the legislative session. And KSL traffic. Tito?
Traffic moving very well, no issues throughout the valley. Maria?
And as we said in the forecast, not much change. We're looking at highs in the 40s and lows in the 20s and just a very slight chance of rain on Friday. It's 2:30.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. At the World Economic Summit, President Trump says the U.S. would not use military force to acquire Greenland and later announced he has a framework for a future deal without offering details. ABC's Karen Travers has more.
The president's idea of diplomacy based on that speech he gave at Davos is essentially saying to Denmark and to NATO allies, you have to hand over Greenland to the United States. Later, he was asked by a reporter why he has taken force off the table, that it's no longer a military option. And he said he didn't think it would be necessary because people would use their better judgment, essentially saying that he thinks that he will win this by browbeating Europe on this.
In Texas, a jury continues deliberations in the trial of former Uvalde school officer Adrian Gonzalez. He's charged with child endangerment and the delayed police response during the Robb Elementary mass shooting. Homeland Security announcing it's launching operations in Maine targeting undocumented migrants. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. A Payson couple is accused of exploiting a vulnerable adult after police say they used their grandmother's rent for gambling, fast food, vapes, and online gaming until the grandmother got evicted. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Court documents say Diane O'Bannon was named her grandmother's primary caregiver, and she moved into her home. But police say she and her husband Cameron were both sending grandmother's money to their cash apps. They say the money was also being used at gas stations, restaurants, for gambling charges, and more. And at the same time, this 87-year-old grandmother with dementia, she had her electricity cut off and was eventually evicted for not paying her bills. Police noted in the documents the grandmother does not drive, does not smoke, and is not doing any online gaming. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
Other local stories KSL is following. A well-known water feature might be making an appearance at Gunlock Reservoir this spring. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis has more.
Gunlock Falls could be coming back this March if current water levels are anything to judge by. The falls appear when the reservoir is over 105% capacity, and today water levels came in at 103%. However, nothing is guaranteed.
If we get a lot of snow runoff, we'll see that spill for quite some time. If things keep going the way they are, it may not spill at all.
Washington County Water Conservation District Operation Manager Dave Jessup says the falls are an unusual event, only occurring every 3 out of every 7 years, and sometimes in very short bursts. He says the reservoir is sitting high this time of year because of a few concentrated storms in the area, but if the Gunlock Falls happen, it would be around mid-March. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment at the close. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all up by more than 1%. The Dow up 588 points to end at 49,077. S&P up by 78. The NASDAQ up by 270 points. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by UCCU. Transfer savings, earn more. UCCU, love where you bank. Tito?
A trouble-free drive continues on this hour. If you're traveling on I-15, expect good speeds with no delays between Ogden and Provo. I-80 and I-215 look to be in great shape as well. No trouble spots to report on. And good speeds continue on the 21st South Freeway as well as Bangerter Highway. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Few clouds across the Wasatch Front. Not much else to speak of. Just a very slight chance of showers on Friday. 45 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
So as you can see here, the standard deviation compared to the beta tells a whole different story, which of course makes your Sortino ratios off the charts. I mean, where else can you find that geometric adhesion? Naturally, if the ex-dividend date hadn't passed, we'd be even better off, but aligning that with the quantitative technicals, you can see that the risk premium is dictating the pricing models we're currently following, which is really messed with our alpha numbers, but the PE ratios
Yeah, keep going. I'm with you. Sometimes you just need straight common sense talk about your retirement. The Tax-Free Retirement Show, Saturday afternoons at 5.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Welcome to guided meditation. Close your eyes. You're at the beach. The seagulls are calling. You take out your iPhone 16e you got from Cricket and use Apple Intelligence to clean up that selfie you just took. It's a good one. You send it to your friends instantly thanks to reliable nationwide 5G. They're totally jealous. Get iPhone 16e for $49.99 when you switch. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new line on the Supreme Unlimited plan. First service charge and tax due at sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
You are listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Utah lawmakers meeting with public school leaders on day 2 of the legislative session to discuss budgets. The hearing coming just days after the state legislature asked the state school board to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in expenses. About a week ago, legislative leaders asked the board to find $300 million to cut from their budget. KSL was there when school board members discussed these cuts, choking back tears at the thought of making such drastic cuts.
You look at these kids in the faces. I'm sorry. I want the legislators to walk through the halls of these schools and you tell those kids what programs you're going to cut. Not happening. You find somewhere else to cut things. You look under every single rock in Utah and you make cuts, not in education, not for our kids. And I'm so thankful for the people that are in this room right now. We're all passionate. And this deserves time, not 2 hours. And if legislation is not going to come to the table, we should make their names public.
In the hearing on Capitol Hill today, members of the state school board discussed some of the proposed cuts with lawmakers. State Senator Fillmore explained why the board was being asked to make these cuts in the first place.
This year, we're not experiencing an economic downturn, and yet we still are experiencing a massive reduction in state revenue due to federal action. So under the spirit of that original agreement, I think that by adding these 4 lines to the code around the stabilization fund, really keep the spirit of that agreement, but help us to be able to use this money in a more effective way in public education. So as you'll see there, we're just adding one more criteria by which stabilization money could be used. And as I say this, I point out, I think everybody on the dais here has heard the presentation from our legislative fiscal analyst that when you look at here's how much revenue the state additionally collected this year, and it was a really big number, but then you subtract out what the federal government action, it took away about $300 million in ongoing revenue, and then you take out what is statutory obligated to be able to pay, and there's really $0 left.
In response to this cut, Senator Fillmore spoke about a bill he's running that could open up some money from a state account.
My proposal, again, I'll just read from line 133. If the minimum school program, for the year in which that minimum school program, if federal tax policy causes income tax revenue to decrease by an amount that is at least as much as the inflationary and enrollment increase, that we could use the stabilization fund to fund that increase in that year. So there's about $480 million in the stabilization fund. It's ongoing money, but that we've just put in a one-time box. So by adopting this, it would take 180 or 190 million of that money, that's ongoing money, and treat it like ongoing money and allow us to fund the 4.2% inflationary and enrollment-based adjustment in the WPU this year, and then leave us $300 million still in the stabilization fund, which is more than enough to cover everything that we've already done, including the teacher development days, the catalyst centers, the additional money for school supplies that teachers buy, and the additional money for rural PE facilities. All of that could be funded in there.
In the hearing, Senator John Johnson voiced a different proposal.
I actually would like to see us at some point do a similar thing we did in higher ed, where we actually push that down even further to the local districts and say, look, we're running out of ongoing funds. Are there things that we could cut and then reallocate to new goals? Because I know we always have new goals of what we want to do. And, I would like to see us at least consider that at some point.
Ultimately, the committee didn't make a decision on the cuts. They're expected to discuss it in another hearing later this session. Amanda Bollinger is the vice chair of the state school board, and she was asked by KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff to explain the proposed cuts and her feelings about what the legislature is asking the state school board to do.
I actually think there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding as we've gone through the process. It feels like we're making all these cuts. That's what we've seen. A 5% cut across the board. As we've gone through the process and as we're better understanding what they're actually asking us to do, it's really more of a process of how are we using our dollars effectively? Are the programs that we're paying for still giving us the bang for our buck that we're hoping for? So it's almost like when you re-look at your home budget and you're like, oh, I have 7 subscriptions to TVs. Maybe I need to cut some of these. Maybe I need to consolidate. And I think that that's really what they're asking us to do, is really take a step back, look at all of our programs, how they're serving our students. We've identified now our priorities as a school board, and are these funds really helping us get to where we want to be in public education and serving our students best. So although it feels like cuts, it's really more of a view from my understanding of reallocating and making sure that the dollars that we are using are helping us get to our goals.
Bollinger says last week's board meeting gave them an opportunity to find a few areas where funds could be cut or reallocated.
At our board meeting last week, we did make a few recommendations. We'll be meeting again tomorrow as a school board from 9 a.m. till about 1:30 to revisit the programs and have these discussions further. And really, our priority is to make sure our students in the classrooms are being served. And there are oftentimes programs that our legislators recommend that get put into our budgets, and over time we have to go back then and look at those programs and say, are these still programs that are serving our students? Are these nice to have, needs to have, or are these just pure add-ons that then maybe can be funded at a local level or local choice versus public dollars for the whole state? So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at.
Outside a hearing on Capitol Hill for the Public Education Appropriations Subcommittee, Bollinger says one of the hardest things for the board to deal with is the allocation of funds to school districts with very different demographics and needs.
That's why we really support local control. And when we talk about local control, we're talking about at an LEA level, not necessarily a state level. We always feel like parents and communities and local LEA leaders have a grasp on what their local needs are. And that's where, when we're looking at our dollars, how do we balance that? And how do we make sure that districts have and charter schools have the money they need to best serve their students? So it is a tricky balance. What works for one doesn't work for all. And I think that's one of the things we'll be looking at with our programs. Because sometimes there are programs that in a large district, you get a large chunk of money and it can help benefit all of your students, where maybe at a charter, it's a smaller amount of money and it can't necessarily impact students as much. So is it better to then take that money that's been earmarked for that program, put it into a more unrestricted budget or a bucket of money, so then local decisions can be made on what is best to use for the students. We all know that we don't like having restricted money, and I think that that's what I've heard most from the LEAs in my area, is they would rather have flexible money and flexible spending to then best meet their needs. To your exact point of what works for one small district or a rural district is different than a larger district or in a large city.
She says that as they look at the budget and how to move things around, she wants people to know and understand that it's not an us versus them situation in education, but that these challenges are opportunities for communication and collaboration.
So I've been in education for 25 years, and when I was a teacher, I always thought I was the principal making some decisions that were hard. When I became a principal, I thought, oh my gosh, the district is making hard decisions, and why are they doing this to us? Then I worked for the district. And when I looked at the district, I was like, why is the state doing this? Now I'm, as a state school board member, originally the first reaction is, oh, what is the legislature doing? But now in the work that I've been doing and collaborating with everybody, it really, sometimes we pit ourselves against each other. And what we really need to do is understand that we're all on the same team and that we really want to just do what's best for our kids. And I think that that's the message that needs to go out to the public, that we all have a desire to work together, and it's not one against the other. It's not the levels. It's better understanding of we all have different roles and responsibilities, but we all just want to get on the same page and help shift this culture in education to make sure we're focusing on student outcomes.
Amanda Bollinger is the vice chair of the Utah State Board of Education. Like she mentioned, the state school board is expected to discuss the proposed cuts more in their next meeting tomorrow morning. The cuts they originally proposed would affect things like suicide prevention programs, Utah Fits All, and elementary arts and music programs. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The struggle between ICE agents and local law enforcement continues in Minnesota, with both sides claiming that they are just doing their jobs. ABC's Matt Rivers about the latest developments in Minneapolis.
So we knew that there was a federal investigation into at least Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Sources told us that a few days ago, and so we were all kind of wondering, well, what's going to happen next? Well, yesterday we found out what next would be. Basically, we know that the mayor of Minneapolis, the governor of Minnesota, and a few others, Attorney General Keith Ellison, we know the mayor of St. Paul, 2 different counties' attorneys in this area, all served with subpoenas as a result of this ongoing investigation. Sources telling us the investigation centers on whether they have been obstructing federal law enforcement activities in the state. So it is a big deal. Now, We did hear from some of these officials, Attorney General Keith Ellison responding in part by saying, it is a subpoena for records and documents, not for me personally. Everything about this is highly irregular, especially the fact that this comes shortly after my office sued the Trump administration to challenge their illegal actions within Minnesota. He wraps it up by saying, let's be clear about why this is happening. Donald Trump is coming after the people of Minnesota, and I'm standing in his way. We've also heard from Walz and Fry, who have said previously that they believe that President Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice because he simply doesn't like that they're standing up to him in these ongoing DHS operations here in the city.
This whole investigation would ultimately be the product of one of the most basic foundational responsibilities that I have as mayor, which is to speak on behalf of my constituents.
So where this goes from here, we don't know exactly, Brad, but it is pretty extraordinary, to your intro there, to see the state and local officials going up against the federal government and being served with subpoenas as a result of that.
Officials for Homeland Security are responding to the claims of local and state officials and defending their actions.
Well, they stood up to it yesterday at a press conference. They addressed some of those allegations with the commander at large in charge of this operation, a guy many of our listeners will probably have heard from before, Greg Bavino.
Leaders like Tim Walz or Mayor Fry have relied on heated rhetoric and accusations that distract from the facts.
He's kind of been the face of all of these different surge operations around the country, and he addressed some of those criticisms.
Our operations are lawful, they're targeted, and they're focused on individuals who pose a serious threat.
He called ICE operations lawful. He doubled down on the tactics here.
They are not random, and they are not political.
We, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens.
And it was really interesting. Earlier in the day, there was another press conference with local police chiefs from this area actually criticizing ICE. Here's a little bit of what those chiefs had to say.
What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them.
And so I took that to Greg Bavino. I asked him about that criticism. Here's that back and forth.
At a press conference today, we heard from several local police chiefs who said that they support ICE, but that certain ICE tactics are making their jobs, keeping their own communities safe, that much harder. What's your response?
I would say that those tactics are born of necessity. What we do is legal, ethical, and moral. Everything we do every day is legal, ethical, moral, well-grounded in law.
The Justice Department is also investigating an anti-ICE protest at a church in nearby St. Paul on Sunday. One of the pastors there is a local ICE official, but was not there during the demonstration. After the break, we're going to finish off Midday with some interesting animal news about parrots and groundhogs. But first, it's traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by UCCU. Supercharge your savings at uccu.com. Tito?
Traffic continues to roll right along at a great pace. No slowdowns if you're traveling on I-15 anywhere between Ogden and Provo. Our other major valley freeways, I-80, I-215, and the 21st South Freeway, are also trouble-free at this hour. Not a bad start to the evening drive. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
When Team USA is on, you can almost see the moment a kid starts believing they could be next. Now, while Xfinity can't guarantee that, they can guarantee something just as important, that your internet price won't change for 5 years. No contracts or commitments, so while your kid is ordering gear online, streaming highlight reels, or video chatting, your Xfinity internet price won't budge. And who knows, by the time the next Olympic Winter Games roll around, your kid could be getting fitted for their very own Team USA uniform, and guess what? You'll still be paying the same price for reliable Wi-Fi. And there's even more to enjoy with the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get their best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed. Just $50 a month, plus get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 monthly value. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Trust and Will.
My dad and I were always close, but some things we just didn't talk about, like his will. After he was gone, we found out he didn't have one, and it created a lot of stress during a time of grief.
Creating a will can be hard to think about, but avoiding it can lead to greater difficulty for the people you love. That's why Trust and Will makes estate planning simple. Create a will online in as little as 30 minutes.
Now, I have a will in place to make sure my loved ones are protected. With Trust and Will, it was easy and affordable, and I got peace of mind knowing my wishes are clear.
Trust and Will.
Get 20% off when you visit trustandwill.com/plan. That's trustandwill.com/plan to get 20% off. trustandwill.com/PLAN.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at trajanwealth.com.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Love Island is taking on an all-new meeting this week in New Zealand. On the Start Here podcast, Brad Milkey dives into unique and a somewhat rare mating season.
You know Love Island? Well, that's what bird lovers are calling New Zealand this week, because for the first time in years, a certain species is set to break its vow of celibacy. We're talking about the kakapo. It's only found in New Zealand. It's a green parrot, but it's a really fat one. It can grow up to 8 or 9 pounds, which is also why it can't fly. It just waddles around on the ground, kind of clumsily, sometimes climbing up trees with its leg and its beak. It's got this blunt face. It's like the Kiwi answer to a koala, only this one has feathers. The sound you just heard is from the group Kakapo Recovery, and that's because the kakapo is endangered for 2 reasons. 1, it's really easy to hunt, and European settlers brought with them new predators. 2, it takes the kakapo a long time to reproduce because they will only breed under very specific circumstances. The Remu tree in New Zealand produces this special berry that kakapo love. In fact, they'll only mate when this berry is in abundance. Somehow they can tell when it's a big harvest year, and this does not happen often. In fact, it's been 4 long years since these birds had their last mating season. Well, this year, the Remu tree is having what's called a megamast season. More berries than you could ever hope for, which often gives females the power to lay multiple eggs and gives male kakapo the fuel for their mating ritual. Did you catch that bird call? It's this deep, booming sound, like a cello string being plucked. It's tough to hear with human ears, but it can be heard by birds for 5 miles. Aw, yeah, boy, setting the mood. When they find a mate, they're determined, although a few years ago, this male tried to mate with a BBC photographer's hat.
He's getting a bit frisky. Ow! Ow!
Anyway, this year, conservationists say all the conditions are ripe for a big renew harvest and a rebounding kakapo population. It doesn't take many of them to make a difference either. Each of these birds can live up to 80 years, meaning most of them will be patiently waiting for this tree to cue the romance once again.
Bet you never heard of the kakapo, huh? ABC's Brad Milkey is the host of the Start Here podcast.
Strike up the music, the band has begun.
In just a few weeks, the world's attention, for better or worse, will turn to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania for the infamous Groundhog Day. As Punxsutawney Phil emerges from his peaceful slumber, he'll make that age-old prediction. Will we have 6 more weeks of winter, or for us in Utah, will we even have a winter? Well, right next door to Pennsylvania, in neighboring New Jersey, ABC's Danny New says the state is having a groundhog shortage.
Of course, folks in the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, they don't have anything to worry about. Punxsutawney Phil is alive and well. In fact, as the legend goes, the so-called inner circle, the mysterious men in top hats and tails, were the custodians of Phil. Alleged Phil is actually 139 years old, thanks to an elixir of life that they feed him at the annual groundhog picnic in the fall. But to our point about New Jersey, it's been 5 years since Milltown Mel made his last prediction in early spring, in which he was mostly right. He passed away just days before Groundhog Day in 2022. And since then, as the New York Times reports, state officials have prohibited chucklings, which is baby groundhogs, from being brought in from other states over fears of some sort of exotic strain of rabies. So since then, there's been no Milltown Mel to predict an early spring. The groundhog needs to be native born. And now while hibernating, they're almost impossible to find.
Oh, no, not that. No one to predict an early spring. Some New Jersey lawmakers are reportedly looking to bring in a celebrity groundhog from a zoo to make their winter versus spring prediction instead. Jeff Kaplan has joined me.
I'm
You're
familiar
from New
with
Jersey.
Milltown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out they don't have a groundhog, right?
Right,
so,
right.
And guess what?
What?
They're getting a ton of snow this weekend. What are we getting?
Nothing.
Right.
But maybe that means that they don't need an early prediction for spring because they're not going to get one.
I think what it means is you don't need a groundhog. What we need is snow. Am I right?
We absolutely do. Thank you for joining me today for Midday. Jeff Kaplan is here. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News is next. Have a great afternoon.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News.